massive celebration. Get the free gift guide to America's 250th birthday at freeusabirthdayguide.com. That's freeusabirthdayguide.com. Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Pain Points of Wealth Podcast. Bob, the reason gold goes up are always different, right? There's always a different reason for why it goes up. You can't really just pin it on one, but I guess we always think about mean reversion. If you look at the long-term returns on gold, it just seems like over the longer term, investors tend to go back to their trend in terms of performance. Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform. 77 WABC News starts now.
I'm Lisa Ritchie in the 77 WABC Newsroom. Fireworks could have been the reason why a porta potty exploded in Yonkers earlier this week. Yonkers police say the blue porta john blew up in Verdano Park around 8:20 on Monday night. Neighbors say they've heard a loud boom, prompting a response from the cops, the Westchester County Bomb Squad, and the FBI. Residents have complained about similar sounding blasts at the same time over the past few weeks. But Monday's porta potty explosion was the loudest to date. Yonkers police say additional patrols are going to be in the area. From the 77 WABC weather desk, tonight clear and cold, below 39. Tomorrow, mostly sunny with a high of 54, and even warmer Friday with a high of 67. For 77 WABC News, I'm Lisa Ritchie.
This is Rabbi Joseph Catholic of the New York Board of Rabbis. This is Reverend Alvin Watson, Christian Culture Center. This features the Rev and the Rabbis every Sunday morning at 7 on 77 WABC. Want to get smarter with your money in 2025? You've got to try Upside. Upside is a free app that gives you cash back. Turn your daily commute, your next grocery run, or your next restaurant meal into cash back. You can earn an average 8% cash back on grocery and dining. That's on top of other credit card rewards. I started using the app in January, and I've almost made $100. I'm estimating by the end of the year I'll make between $200 to $300.
I get cash back at all my regular spots.
And get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. Just download the Upside app and use promo code United25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code United25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus. Reserved by user location for Upside.com for terms and conditions. This is John Cassidy. Starting off as a small businessman, I never had a fancy ad agency. I did it the way I had to do it. We have been certified by Nielsen to be the #1 talk station in the country. Advertising? If you advertise with WABC, you will be a winner too. Why don't you email me at CATS, C-A-T-S, at WABCRadio.com, and you advertise with winners, and you become a winner. Every weekend, newsmakers are on 77 WABC. Gas Roundtable. Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, discusses food price hell. He's taking a strong stand against the new president of Mexico, saying you have to do something about the cartel. I will. With little answers to talk about the song once was. It's a reflection of all the people that you know, like I did, and they're not here anymore.
Going to my world famous place to get some food.
The workers are not getting paid. All those congressmen and senators responsible for this disaster. Governor Andrew Cuomo says they want Nielsen rated. The Rita Cosby Show. Thank you for listening. 77 WABC. Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back to the Blue.
This Back to the Blue segment coming from Chicago, Illinois, where a woman was rescued from Lake Michigan's Monroe Harbor. Now, officers arrived on the scene. They located her. They were able to make their way in the water. Now, the water temperature of the lake that evening was in the low 30s, which are certainly not suitable conditions for anyone sitting in the water. The woman had apparently fallen into the water, luckily in an area which was located.
Oh yeah, going over the bridge now. We're going over the bridge. Oh yeah, we're going over the bridge.
The water to rescue the a woman. She was then taken to the hospital and found to be in good condition, faithful to be rescued by the men and women. They're talking about the fact that they believe President Trump.
Oh, yeah. We're going over the bridge.
To Iran. Remember the other day they talked going to be a problem.
Going to one of my favorite food spots.
No, that's not nice. People up at children's shields and doing chains around power plants. More concerned with President Trump's civilization will die rhetoric actually brought Iran to the table than anything else. They're doing
This is broadcast number 171, I believe. 171. The other broadcast got flabbergasted, got corrupt. We had the other broadcast that got corrupt. So you know what happens when we get a corrupt broadcast? We put it in a corruption file and we make it go away. Oh boy, there goes my radio flying.
Agreed to reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
My radio just flew.
That led to results.
Oh yeah.
Secretary of War stated at the Pentagon this morning, it was not an empty threat by any means. The Pentagon had a target list that they were ready.
Look at this guy. Who the hell drives a convertible if it's 30 degrees? It's 30 degrees right now. It's like the coldness of a freezer. Not a refrigerator, but a freezer.
I was asked this exact same question by your colleague Andrew in the back, and I think, again, the insinuation by anyone in this room that Iran somehow has the moral high ground over the United States of America is insulting, considering the atrocities that they have committed against our people and our military over the past 5 decades.
Do you think that the United States has the moral high ground, essentially over Iran, over a horrific terrorist regime that has killed so many people around the globe? In other words, do you think President has the moral high ground over Hitler? I mean, that's what they're asking, essentially. Like it's a trick question. Like, we're not really sure after his nasty comment that he put in a tweet. And you just heard from Ari Fleischer before, who spent a lot of time at the White House. Remember, he was White House press secretary for George Bush. And he was saying that it's that rhetoric that Trump understands peace through strength. And
Yeah, so
message that some
that's the deal.
Understand.
The bridge, the color of the bridge was yellow. It was yellow tonight. Then it turned green. Now it's turning blue. And now it's turning purple. See that? It's turning purple. And now it's turning red. We got the fruitcake colors. Look at this bridge. Orange, orange, and then back to yellow. We got the fruitcake bridge here. You see that? This is known as the fruitcake bridge. Ah, boy. They got the fruitcake bridge, yo. What else do they think? This is paid for by my tax dollars. My tax dollars pay for these fruitcake colors on this fruitcake bridge.
The U.S. has been a moral leader for most of its history by fighting wars against other governments. not against
the bridge.
How can the president claim that Americans never have moral high ground if he's threatening to destroy civilizations and not testing wars as fights against other governments?
Andrew, I think you should take a look at the actions of this president over the course of the past 6 weeks and the actions of our brave.
We're on several missions tonight.
Who have taken out the military.
We got to get the. We're on a mission to get the gas. We got to get the.
That has chanted death to America for 40
We got to get the.
And made thousands of American soldiers over
Petro.
the last 5 decades.
We got to get the vegan petro. We got to get the vegan petro. After we get the vegan petro, we got to get the foods.
With all due respect, does he have the moral high ground
We got to get
over
the
Hitler,
foods.
essentially? I mean, can you imagine?
And after we get the foods,
for years,
we're gonna do the cruise.
and yet they didn't ask anything like that to Biden. They didn't say, President, do you understand? Do you understand? President of the United States, do you understand? And in fact, on Afghanistan, they basically
Got to do the cruise.
they had maybe 1 or 2 no questions there, but then they moved on. No one's going to held accountable for the missile withdrawal. Then you have President Trump, it's a whole different standard. Just be fair, guys.
Yeah, it's a whole different ballpark.
Briefing room. So I'm speaking from experience. I've sat in the briefing room asking questions to President. Be fair. You know, I've asked some tough questions to Republicans and Democrats, and they were okay with it because they knew I was being fair. That's the difference. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Stuart from Quebec, Canada. Quebec, beautiful Quebec on line 3. Stuart, what are you thinking? You hear all this. My goodness.
I'll tell you this way, Iran is a tough country. It needs tough talk against it.
I agree. And for them to say, can you believe that you've got the American media?
I don't know what the Canadian media is doing, too. I'll ask you that, too. From the U.S. media perspective, Stuart, they're sitting here and they're concerned about President Trump's tough language. And where is their priority, right?
Language will not bring down any houses. Language may bring them to the table for negotiation.
Yeah, and that's what it looks like it has done. I mean, the fact, Stuart, that they saw President Trump as a man of action. And they just think, and being a liberal strike, if they
They'll play him,
they'll play him.
He's like that.
Yep, they'll play him like a fiddle, right? I mean, how do you compare, watching this, Stuart, how do you compare President Trump to, like, Obama and Biden?
No, no comparison at all. Opposite sides of the border.
Yeah, total opposite. So now, where do you think this is headed, Stuart?
Well, you want the truth?
Yeah.
This thing is going to drag out for about a year.
Wow. I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to necessarily drag out. And how do you see it dragging out?
Well, I see a battle of words back and forth, each one trying to scare the other.
Yeah, I don't. I actually disagree with that. And the reason I see not trusting, obviously, Iran in any shape or form, and I see them trying to buy time. What I don't see is President Trump having the patience to allow them continue dragging like that.
But he may not have an alternative other than to drop a nuke in the middle of the center of their country.
Well, he's not going to drop a nuke, you know that.
Well, I know he's not going to do that, so he's going to have to drag it out.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I think there's ways that they can have some persuasion. You look at Carg Island, you look at some of these other locations. I think there's other ways to persuade them. But I will agree with you, Stuart, that this is a tough nut. This is not an easy thing because they're zealots, right? I mean, these people are fanatics.
Yeah, and how do you deal with somebody that's already insane? Well, you don't. I don't know what his solution is, but I think it's going to drag out longer than you'd like.
Yeah, I think so
It
too.
really scares me.
I know, and I'll tell you,
It'll be a war of words.
I think it's going to be beyond words. I wish it was just a war of words. I think it's going to sadly go a lot further than that, but I do think it will extend longer just because Iran is fanatical. They're zealots. They'll die for the cause, and they are just complete lunatics, as President Trump has so aptly described. And it is going to take a bit longer, but I do think, I see an end game, but I think it's going to be a bit bumpy. But that's what happens when you're dealing with a terrorist regime, and I still applaud him for taking his task on and having the courage.
We're on a mission. We're on a mission.
Away from that,
we are on a mission from God.
And he's actually having the guts.
We're on a mission to get
make the world
some vegan fuel.
Not just America, but to make the world.
We're going to get some of that vegan fuel, vegan gasoline.
I think we all pray. And again,
we're going to get some of that vegan gasoline, and we're going to get some grub.
Dicey, there's no doubt. Stuart,
something
thank you
to
very
eat.
Much. Let's go
grub.
to Sal in New Jersey. Line 2. Sal, your thoughts tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, Rita. Rita, it took 11 months for us from the invasion of Normandy to go all the way to Berlin and defeat Nazi Germany. So it takes time to win wars. We have to be patient. And so the American people have to rally around the flag and be patient and support our president and our troops. And I also like to say the Democrats aren't just stupid, they're bad. They hate the United States. They want us to lose. Can you imagine in World War II if these people were in Congress and in Washington? They would be rooting for Nazi Germany.
Yeah, it's scary.
Oh, yeah. Let's cross from the right lane to the left lane all in one shot.
He didn't have to get off a
Just totally skip the middle lane. Go from the right lane to the left lane, skip in the middle lane in one shot.
That one, right?
Oh, yeah. You get the world-class award for that one.
If somebody like an AOC got briefed on it,
you get the number one
did get briefed. But can you imagine if you had to go
Idiot Award, Highway Idiot Award of the year 2026 for that one. Nope. Oh, yeah, now we got to go all the way over to the right lane. Look at that. He goes back. He goes from the right lane, skipping the middle lane into the left lane, just to pass this white minivan, and then he goes all the way back from the left lane. He goes all the way back to the right lane, skipping the middle lane. He is the pickup jerk. We're going to call him the pickup jerk. You are known as the pickup jerk. And the white pickup, out of all the colors, he drives a white pickup so you can see him. You could see him from far away. He is known as the white pickup jerk.
It's still not funded, you guys. The partial shutdown is still continuing. So at a time where we have the biggest threat ever, yes, we have an unfunded Department of Homeland Security. One of the layers is this group called CISA. It's the cybersecurity. Iran is trying to hack a number of facilities tied to America. Remember, they got into, I think it was Kash Patel's private account and some other stuff. Really like crazy things. And they're not funding that. They're not funding Coast Guard. There are a number of things at this time that they are not funding. And that to me is...
I gotta get some of that vegan fuel, man. I'm on fumes.
Whenever their political game, they want to make America and Trump as miserable as possible. And
what am I into here?
They will do anything. I mean, blocking ICE.
What is this, 20?
You know, a group of thugs calling them Nazi Gestapo.
This is 20 minutes into the broadcast, huh?
We're members of Congress.
20 minutes into the broadcast, and I'm down.
Wonderful men and women.
I'm down to exactly.
But they seem to do it seamlessly.
Exactly a quarter tank. I'm down to a quarter tank, which means I'm low on fuel. And there goes the Arby's. Oh yeah, there's the Arby's. There's the Arby's. I'm not going to get Arby's tonight.
The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show. Tax season is here, and this is the tax break of the day. Today's topic, using tax planning year-round. This is the tax break of the day. Tax planning is most effective when it's approached as an ongoing process throughout the entire year rather than as a one-time activity during tax filing season. Decisions related to income timing, deductible expenses, retirement contributions, and tax withholding all have a significant impact on your overall tax outcome. Tax preparers often monitor financial changes during the year and recommend adjustments to your strategies as needed to reflect evolving circumstances and current tax laws.
So many people are driving with the high brights on.
Anticipate potential liabilities, take advantage of available opportunities.
So many people are driving with the high brights on to blind me. And you feel it the most in the left lane here. You feel it the most.
Just before filing. This has been your tax break of the day. This is the Worldwide News Network Extra. Steps are being taken to make sure.
Oh boy! Now we come to
in the Texas Hill Country, the Upper Guadalupe.
we come to the traffic here.
The plan to install 8 sirens.
21 minutes into the broadcast, there goes that white pickup truck in the right lane. You see that? That's what's called the pickup jerk. He's the pickup jerk, and he's all the way over in the right lane. He's the pickup jerk, and we're stuck over here in traffic with a quarter tank of gas. But it says here that the quarter tank of gas gets me 125 miles. So a full tank of gas gets me 500. Is that true? Is that accurate? I got a 500-mile range with a full tank of gas. Yeah, I got a 500-mile range with a full tank of gas. Now I only have 125 because I'm down to a quarter tank.
Charged with DUI in connection with a car crash in Florida last month. According to multiple reports, Lewis was charged with refusing to take a chemical.
Look at this. It's 11 o'clock at night and there's so much traffic. You see this?
On March 27th, the 50-year-old golf legend allegedly struck the back of a trailer while driving in Jupiter Island, rolling over his Land Rover. Following crash and his arrest, was announced that he's stepping away for a period of time to seek treatment and focus on his health. From the 77 WABC Weather Desk, tonight clearing cold, the low 39. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, the high 54. And Friday looks sunny and warm with a high of 67. For 77 WABC News, I'm Lisa Ritchie.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Last year, more clients hired Morgan & Morgan than ever before. We now have more offices, more staff, and more lawyers than any other injury firm in the world. Protecting America. Fighting for you at forthepeople.com for an office near you. Here at 77 WABC, we understand you just can't get enough. Entertaining and informative. Just can't get enough. And honestly, why would you want to? This is the news and talk station of New York with Rita Cosby.
The issue is crime and safety.
Oh, yeah.
New York, 77.
We're driving into Marica country. We're driving into Marica country. You know Marica? Marica country. Oh, yeah.
This is the Rita Cosby Show.
Pay attention.
Well, you just heard from the steward in Quebec. He thinks this could drag on for a year. But he also applauds President Trump for taking a stance against the evil Iranian regime. But if you listen to the U.S. media, they're more upset about Trump's language in tweets. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Stan in Forest Hills on line 4. Go ahead, Stan. How you doing?
Good evening. You mentioned that journalists on NBC, they call something or other undermining
Let's get something straight. The only president undermines this administration is Donald Trump when he opens his mouth. She stuck that important on MSNBC anyway.
Yeah.
Many different, but the journalists don't undermine anybody. Only the person.
We're going to Marika Land. Marika Land.
Actually, you know what?
Marika Land.
And let me tell you why. Hey, let me tell you why. Because
We're going to Marika Land.
You have to be a rah-rah cheerleader.
Marika!
I think criticism's fair game. But I think when you go out there and you say, okay, well, the person's chicken, or they back down, they cave, they this, they that, it's like they will never give him an inch. I mean, I just played even some other clips. I watched the briefing today, Stan, and so many of the questions were, about Trump's language.
Oh, yeah. Well, we finally got off the interstate. We finally got off the interstate.
Enough guts to go in there, and yet they won't give him credit.
And now we're on the
Rita, I gotta say this quickly.
we're on the service road here. The service highway. The service highway road. The interstate is up there on the left on top there.
Is low. I'm sorry.
It's on top. We're down here lower to the ground.
Not quality enough in terms of understanding journalism the way I see it. You see it quite. You can tell who the good journalists are on TV.
Yes, you're right.
Wrong? Am I saying something wrong here?
No, you're right. And
the quality is terrible.
Dan, there were days
I see you, Copper. You can't get me. You can't get me. You can't give me your filthy ticket, which I know you wipe your ass with those tickets. You wipe your cornhole. You wipe your cornhole with those tickets. And then you stick them in your pocket so your ass smells like cocky.
Horse manure,
Yeah, like horse manure.
And Brinkley are over. I'm sorry to say, and good journalists, Brokaw, and only these guys. The crap that you have today, I'm sorry, on all of the stations, the conservative and CNN, don't rate.
Yeah, you see that? That's the 14-lane highway.
Maybe it's the fact that
14 lanes, and over here,
maybe they don't know the history.
it's 16.
That much, but
It's four lanes times 4, so it's 16.
I agree, and I think
It's a 16-lane freeway.
with an agenda.
It's a 16-lane freeway.
A major news organization. And if it's transparent and your job is to have an agenda, that's different. But I always think there's sort of a line between news and opinion. But there are people who claim that they're news reporters, and then they go out and they can't find a single thing. They're asking a question about his language and not even asking about the deal or chastising Iran. And so, Dan, I do agree with you on that. And that's a sad state of affairs for the media.
Oh, yeah.
Sad state of affairs
Gotta
for
watch
America.
it. Gotta watch out.
Is that their messages are also being used by propaganda. Ask hard questions, but ask them also about Joe Biden. And when Obama was sending the $1.7 billion in cash, you heard nothing. You heard crickets from those media members.
So now we got to turn on my laptop here. Turn this sucker on.
And everybody, you are listening to the Rita Cosby Show. This is Rita Cosby. Let's go to our awesome news gal, Lisa Ritchie. Lisa, you always have the latest. What do you got now?
Well, of course, we have to touch on Iran. Is it on? Is it off? Is the strait open? Is it closed? These are all questions that seem to change on a minute-by-minute basis.
Yeah, I would say a second-by-second basis. And, of course, I have to say, I give President saying he was going to pound them back to kingdom come and obliterate civilization as they know it in Iran. As much as he's gotten all this crazy criticism from Democrats and some members of the media saying, oh, that's not nice for you to say that to a terrorist regime, it clearly at least brought them back to the peace table. And let's hope that they can achieve some sort of lasting peace, a true ceasefire. I give him at least credit for trying, because there are so many people out there that have said he's a warmonger and he's just pounding the heck out of them indiscriminately. And I do at least applaud that when Pakistan came, when the Prime Minister and the other leaders there came and said, hey, look, we have this ceasefire opportunity from Iran, President Trump at least said, yes, I will look at it. And clearly he is giving it a chance. He's giving them another, right now as it looks, another 2-week window. But the other part is, will you trust Iran? Should anybody trust Iran? The answer is heck no. And you have to obviously trust, but clearly verify. And I don't even think you have to trust with them. I think you have to verify and verify. I wouldn't trust them, as far as I could throw them. But I do at least applaud him for trying. And who knows? Maybe it works. But if it doesn't work, at least he could say, once again, I gave them every single opportunity. And if they break it, you can bet the full might of the U.S. military is going to come down hard. And especially with President Trump coming in and saying, I'm giving you this opportunity, I'm allowing you, we're taking a slight pause. The last thing he's going to want is to see that they break the ceasefire or that they lie to him or they mislead him and that they maybe move or do something while they claim they're not doing certain activities. So my advice, don't lie to President Trump or your country will end up in rubble.
Well, to your point, Rita, despite the ceasefire, Iran apparently
so much problems with the lesson plan, huh? I hear you with the lesson plan.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has agreed to stop bombing Iran, but not against the Iran-backed Hezbollah militant group in Lebanon.
Yeah,
that's still going on.
It's still going on, Lisa. That's the perfect thing that you bring up because it just shows the complexities of what's going on here. First off, also, Iran also hit Saudi. They hit a...
And there's no places to pull over that are like real quick to pull over.
Now, Iran maybe
but
that is some sort of one level that maybe
I see. I got my laptop here. Now we're connecting. We're connecting to the chat in my laptop, and we're connected.
In terms of Lebanon, Israel and the United States have firmly said. I was watching Caroline Levitt today, the White House press secretary. It's very clear.
We're connected.
Is not a part of this deal. That the U.S. said no, it's not. Israel said no, it's not. Iran is pretending.
Lesson plan.
They knew Iran knew it was not part of the deal. And how could they? On one hand, you've got Hezbollah firing on Israel.
So when are you going to do your videos, huh?
Take it and say thank you.
When are you going to do your videos? I want to know when you're going to do your videos.
That is extremely serious.
I told you the perfect subject matter for you to do.
Some Hezbollah locations. In fact, I just saw a story that one location there were about 200 people dead, 1,100 wounded just today in some of the strikes. Israel is saying,
oh, this is a supermarket. Wait, no, it's not a supermarket. It's not a supermarket.
And Lebanon is part of it. Well, then Iran is going to have to raise.
There's a supermarket. Oh, yeah, there is a supermarket. There's a ShopRite. There's a ShopRite right there. There's a ShopRite. Oh, yeah.
They're trying to do anything they can to get out of this deal. That's why I do not trust them.
Oh, yeah, there's a ShopRite right there.
Miracles happen. Rarely do they happen in the Middle East. I've covered this a long time, but maybe
oh, gas prices are $5 a gallon. $5 a gallon is gas prices. $5 a gallon. $5 a gallon. $5 a gallon. That I heard before the latest ceasefire thing there was a discussion that apparently Jamie Dimon and some others came back to President Trump and said, well, you know what? The Iranians are not going to accept this. This was several days ago. Yeah, the gas prices. They're up there. Well, that's okay. I tell them to look out of their window and tell them to look in this particular direction. And then 10 minutes later, he took out that big bearing of the bridge, their main bridge. It's a nice way to send a message saying, you know what, we can hit you at any time. So you better straighten up, and this is one last chance.
Well, from the weather desk, Rita, tonight we're looking cold below 39. Things do get better, though. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, high 54. And Friday, we could see a high of 67. The Rita Cosby Show continues. I'm Lisa Ritchie on 77 WABC.
WABC New York, WRCR Asheville, and 107.1 WLIR Hampton Bay. 77 WABC, Staten Island law firm of Ed Julian and Billy John. Time is 11:05.
Call 718-816-0005 or visit aglawnyc.com.
Let me tell you about Bob, a building manager for a budding business. Bob's boss asked Bob to help the business save big bucks. So he called Beth at PSG&G. Beth bounced around ideas on all their business programs. Bob bought a new boiler with big incentives and on-bill repayment, and used his savings to benefit his business. Visit pscg.com/radio to see how your business can be made even better. I say fearless and fair. Gains and anyone who rests from the White House, the war zone, telling all sides of the story. This is the Rita Copy Show. Breaking news.
It's not the Rita Cosby Show. It is a shaky ceasefire and still some missiles flying. But there is a meeting on Saturday that is going to take place in Pakistan. And the big question is, if Iran does not honor the ceasefire, what's next? Well, J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, came out and said that Iran must give up its nuclear weapons. There is no gray on that. And here's what he told reporters a little bit ago.
What the president has said is that we don't want Iran to have the capacity to build a nuclear weapon. The president has also said that we don't want Iran enriching towards a nuclear weapon, and we want Iran to give up the nuclear fuel. Those are going to be our demands during the negotiation. And again, we're going to see what the Iranians are willing to give up. If they make a good faith effort to actually give us the things that we need to have a successful negotiation for the security of the American people, I think there's a lot on the other end. If they don't give us what we need, then I think it's going to be bad. But I'm optimistic that the Iranians are going to be smart, that they're going to negotiate in good faith.
And describes a little bit about the give and take that's going to happen now over the next 2 weeks. Listen to this.
This is one of the things, to me, one of the main subjects of negotiation is that we want Iran to not be able to make a nuclear weapon. We want the nuclear fuel, which is something the president has made very clear. And there's, again, the way to think about this is the United States has certain demands and certain things that we want. The Iranians have things to get out of the negotiation. The more that they're willing to give us, I think the more they're going to get things out of this negotiation. The president's talked about sanctions relief. The president's talked about economic partnerships and things like that. That's not going to happen unless the Iranians make a firm commitment to stop anything close to the development of a nuclear weapon. And frankly, the president has all the cards here. We've got a lot of leverage. We've got a lot of things that we can do. But right now, I think we're in a good spot.
Let it go. Meantime, we've got issues in this country. We got to wake up. We have to wake up big time. You've got this guy named Hassan Piker. He is a social media extraordinaire in his following. And he's out there saying, you know, America deserved 9/11. Remember, he said that in the past. He's been undermining America, saying, oh, you know, the flood rates, they really weren't such a big deal on October 7th. I mean, another disgusting comment. He's made a whole bunch of them. And so he was at a rally this week, and he was with the Democratic candidate who was running, one of them, the leading Democratic candidate, by the way, who is running for U.S. Senate in Michigan. And if this doesn't give you a wake-up call, this guy has been embracing this guy, Hassan Piker. Abdul Sayed has said some really despicable things. He was caught, remember, on the audio tape saying, oh, we can't talk about Dearborn, in Dearborn about the death of the Supreme Leader because a lot of people in Dearborn are sad. And we don't want to offend them, because obviously he was such a nice, wonderful Supreme Leader of Iran. So that's where he's coming from. That's one. All right, so you've got that. And then now he's out with Hassan Piker, this social media phenomenon who hangs around, guess what? Yes, Zoran Mandani. But this guy is out there rallying with him at events.
hanging out with them. And when he's asked, hey, will you condemn this guy? Well, no, I don't want to condemn anybody. I don't want to condemn. Everybody can speak. Sure, no problem. He obviously doesn't have a problem with what he's saying. And here's Hassan Piker, who's at the rally with this U.S. candidate for Senate. Again, a Democrat, Abdul El-Sayed. It's a Michigan seat. And here's what Hassan Piker had to say. Boy, he started bashing Trump. Couldn't stop. Here it is.
It's fascist. It's exterminationist. It's unfortunately where we're at in American politics right now.
You got the.
Unfortunately, it's unrestrained. We need to use every.
You got these $5 a gallon gas stations here.
Every single hurdle that we can throw in the direction.
I'm going to my.
Otherwise, we will be remembered.
World famous vegan gas station.
Adolf Hitler was.
It sells vegan gas.
Shocking. That is so shocking.
Vegan gasolina.
In the dustbin of history, comparing him to Adolf Hitler. And then this Hassan Piker guy, again, who's chumming around with the guy who is now the leading candidate on the Democratic side. The Democratic Party has lost their mind. There is no sort of moderate Democratic Party anymore because they're embracing guys like this. Hassan Piker started mocking the two American airmen, remember, who were shot down. Remember their plane crashed, they had to eject, and he was mocking the two American airmen. Listen to this despicable comment. A two-seater fighter jet, an F-15. The pilot would be in the front, the weapons systems officer would be in the back, and this would be a very dramatic and very dangerous rescue. Iran's Revolutionary Guard saying that Iranian forces had shot down the U.S. fighter jet overnight, with Iranian state media releasing images of the wreckage of that jet. And
bro, this was so funny. The way that the American media was covering this issue was, I'm sorry, kind of funny, okay? It's devastating for the pilots, but also it's going to be quite difficult for me to feel a sense of sympathy for American Air Force pilots when I know what they're doing. They're responsible for a litany of war crimes. Like, here's an alternative. Don't do that, bro.
How disgusting is that? I'm feeling bad, not finding that in your heart. I mean, that is just, that man is full of hate. And here's a little more, urging his audience, listen to this, going after Rick Scott, who is the senator of Florida.
If you cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott. Okay, you wouldn't make Rick Scott, former governor of Florida, Rick Scott. You wouldn't make him the current. What is his current office? What is it? He's the Richard Lynn Scott. Is an American attorney, businessman, politician, Navy veteran, serving as the senior United States senator from Florida. Seat he has held since 2019.
Oh, that's got to be the luckiest rabbit in the road. I almost ran over a rabbit. I didn't want to steer my vehicle too much
Kill Rick Scott
because I had a idiot behind me.
putting a threat out.
But that's got to be the luckiest rabbit in the road.
Then
I managed to pass it right down the center of me.
Listen to what he says about ICE.
I managed to pass it right down the center of me. And what the hell is that rabbit doing in the center of the road?
Listen to this guy.
There is no retreat. There is only abolishing.
Worth fixing. And this guy right now is the leading candidate on the Democratic side. What did that say about the voters there? 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Reggie in Texas. Go ahead, Reggie, your thoughts tonight.
Well, Ms. Reed, I think we have the same problem in Michigan that you all have up there in New York.
Oh, yeah.
The candidate's the problem, but the candidate can make all the noise in the world he wants. It's the voter who eventually has the loudest voice, and he's going to win. He's talking this way and has the support of this person. I won't dignify using his name. Has the support of this, supports this person because he knows that's where the votes are. And
how sad is that, Reggie? Reggie, how sad is that? And I sadly, I hope you're wrong. There's some good people in the race. You got Mike Rogers, who's a former FBI agent. He was on the House Intel Committee. He's running. He's on the Republican side running.
But how sad is that? That right now that guy, the other guy, is ahead in the Democratic side, and you believe he's going to win? I mean, that is what a testament that is to the American voter.
Well, if you go, and I don't have the names in front of me, but if you go and you look at the opponents of that old part, and the one there in Washington, I forget her name, I'm sure their opponents were worthwhile and worthy men or women who were more than qualified for the job, yet they lost because of their constituency. And unfortunately, the country itself, I don't agree with Stan much, but he hit it on the head about the legacy of media. You only have to go with what went on today. Misread it since the war started. CNN and MSN, that they can go by now. I've been checking on them, and they've been putting up the oil and stock market prices the whole time during the war because they were plummeting and it made Orange Man look bad. Today, the numbers went through the roof. They never put them on. Not one I was looking through. Never once did they put the stock price, the oil price, or because it dropped so much, or the stock of the stock market rose was 1,300 points. That all makes it look good. But it's not even their questioning of Caroline Levitt and the president himself. It's just a very product, and you know this because you make your living as a reporter. You affect what the viewer sees by what you report and how you report it. And when you don't put something on the air, the level of importance is minimized, right? Because the viewer never knows about it. And that's how you condition, really, they've conditioned it. They've completely created a narrative that they control the narrative. And you notice that they haven't talked about the war crimes that Iran has actually committed. Right. I'm pretty sure they cluster bombs on civilian targets, and they knocked out a desalinization plant. I guess in Kuwait or Oman today. I'm pretty sure that's a war crime too, considering 99% of their drinking water has to be cleaned that way.
Yeah, it's amazing, the juxtaposition, and I want to play. This is Cut 21. This is Jonathan Lemire, and he is on MS Now. He's been a journalist for a long time, and listen to how he, quote, as a journalist, unbiased journalist, here's how he reports on Trump today.
The president posting, we dealt with it in real time on air, should not be glossed over here. The language there was, a war crime. It threatens war crime. It threatens genocidal-like behavior. It is the kind of language, as I said yesterday, associated with the monsters of history, to wipe out a civilization. That's simply not how presidents speak. That's not how leaders of democracies speak. Now, Trump aide said, well, that was part of the plan, the art of the deal. There was that kind of bellicose language that got Iran to the table. Perhaps that's true, perhaps not. But not only are we not sure what it looks like, I think we also need to grapple with what happened yesterday is something that will sustain on the White House, the legacy of this president, but also how the U.S. is viewed throughout the world, and particularly in that region in Iran, where certainly a vengeful regime someday could still lash out.
What do you make of that? I mean, this guy's saying he's unbiased and he's out there fighting Trump's genocidal-like threats. Reggie, go ahead.
It's beyond comical, Miss Rita. Imagine this. Up until yesterday, with Trump's bellicose tweets, up until yesterday, Iran had no plan for retribution or revenge. It was his tweet about completely destroying civilization that
overdose death in 2023. She admitted to supplying the drugs that killed Perry and to telling accomplices to delete all incriminating text messages, as well as setting up drug deals and distribution. The North Hollywood resident has been in custody since August of 2024. From the WABC Weather Center, clear and cold tonight, the low 39. Mostly sunny tomorrow, the high 54. 477 WABC News, I'm Lisa Ritchie.
It's the Rev and the Rabbi every Sunday morning at 7. This is Rabbi Joseph Matasnik. This is Reverend A.R. Bernard. Join us every Sunday of the Rev and the Rabbi. Don't miss this dynamic duo, the Rev and the Rabbi, every Sunday morning at 7. If you missed the show, download the 77 WABC app or listen to the podcast at WABCRadio.com. Join us for the Rev and the Rabbi every Sunday morning at 7, right here on 77 WABC. Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Protecting America with Rita Cosby.
Charles Marino, how much overall do you think the war in Iran is stirring up the hornet's nest of crazies, even crazier?
Well, I think U.S. action against Iran serves as an activation event based on those that are already in the United States and those that will view the actions that the United States took against Iran as a call to activate within the United States, whether part of a terrorist organization or lone wolves. And we've seen many examples of those activations, whether it's Austin, Texas, Virginia, or in New York City, or in Michigan. So this is all very concerning, and unfortunately, we should expect this to continue.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform. The views and opinions expressed by the individual hosts and their guests do not necessarily reflect the policies or positions of WABC Radio, its management, or its sponsors. Coming up tonight at midnight on the Dominic Carter Show.
The next move as it relates to Iran, and I want you to consider, Mamdani has only been in office for 4 months. How are New Yorkers supposed to survive the next 3.5 years? That's coming up at midnight tonight with me, Dominic Carter, 77 WABC.
Brutally killing Irina Zarutska, that is that 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee on the Charlotte, North Carolina light rail train. Remember that happened last August. Well, now this guy, 35-year-old DeCarlos Brown Jr., who has a long rap sheet, a repeat offender with many violent offenses. He told his sister that he thought there was some metal in his head or something that caused him to do this to this woman who did nothing to him. You see the whole video. It horrified the country. But now he has been found to not be competent to stand trial. In other words, found incapable to proceed on state murder charges. So his attorney is asking the court to delay the competency hearing for 180 days. So DeCarlos Brown, things are continuing. And this guy, clearly, he's got a screw loose. Clearly, he is a violent man. What was he doing on the streets? If he's not competent to stand trial, what was he doing? Because he had been in and out, apparently, of facilities. He had been in and out of jails. So why was he even out on the streets to murder this beautiful Ukrainian refugee? The system is broken, and I don't know how we fix it, because boy, what a mess. So let's go to Joe in Brooklyn, line 3. Go ahead, Joe, your thoughts.
Hey, Rita, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
That's good. I not too much about politics, but I'm 71 years old. I regret that I voted for Trump.
Okay, now why? You have to tell me why.
Now, Biden, even though he was a nut, I ate under his. So what happened
Yeah.
to Cindy?
All right.
That he said
Well,
the tariffs that senior citizens, would get something. Send $100 at them. Or if you can't send 2,000.
we got the vegan gas.
After he said that. And, the food prices down. Now somebody said to you on your station, this may go on for a year. Listen, so I guess I ain't going to be eating for a year.
Well, and Joe, first of all, I certainly hope that none of that is the case.
But I heard what you said, and I think, obviously, it's going to get a lot better before a year. I think it's going to get a lot better in a week or two. And you deserve good things.
Parents, America's big birthday is coming up, and your kids want an invite to the party. Let them join the fun with the Kids Guide to America's 250th birthday. A free guide that helps kids celebrate the epic story of our nation's birth. Get your kids back in time to see the founding fathers sign the Declaration and get them ready for this year's massive celebration. Get the free Kids Guide to America's 250th birthday at freeusabirthdayguide.com. That's freeusabirthdayguide.com. This is the Worldwide News Network Extra. In Southern California, the San Bernardino Fire Department is testing out the use of sound waves to extinguish flames. The technology is called sonic fire.
We filled up on my vegan gas.
That's Chef Ruder, the developer. He says it doesn't need water or chemicals. There is no storage of suppressants. There's no water. I'm James Flippin, and this is the Worldwide News Network. 77 WABC News starts now.
Yeah, we got my vegan gas.
WABC Newsroom, NASA is giving more details on the return of the Artemis II crew. The 4 astronauts are scheduled to splash down this Friday evening at around 8 p.m. Eastern off the coast of San Diego. The astronauts will experience another communications.
Every time I look at that White Castle, I think automatically of diarrhea. White Castle equals diarrhea.
And then 3 orange shoots that will float the Orion capsule to about 20 miles per hour. Once the spacecraft splashes down, divers will put the astronauts onto a raft before they're taken by helicopter to the recovery ship. For the 77 WABC weather desk, clear and cold tonight below 39. Tomorrow looks mostly sunny with a high of 54. For 77 WABC News, I'm Lisa Ritchie.
Want to get smarter with your money in 2025? You've got to try Upside. Upside is a free app that gives you cash back. Turn your daily commute, your next grocery run, or your next restaurant meal into cash back. You can earn an average 8% cash back on grocery and dining. That's on top of other credit card rewards. I started using the app in January, and I've almost made $100. I'm estimating by the end of the year, I'll make between $200 and $300.
I get cash back at all my regular spots, and when I discover new stores and restaurants.
To me, Upside is the best cashback app out there. I get exclusive deals and discounts that reward me with real cash. Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back when you fill up the free Upside app and use promo code United25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code United25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus. Offers vary by user location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions.
This is the Rita Cosby Show on 77 WABC. The California gubernatorial race is really heating up, and former Fox News host Steve Hilton just got a big endorsement from President Trump. Steve Hilton is leading the polls in the Sunshine State, and he joined us earlier on Cats and Cosby.
It's a very exciting week. What an honor to be endorsed by the president. I didn't ask for the endorsement. I didn't expect the endorsement, but it was wonderful to receive it. Of course, I know the president. We've been raid, but I really didn't expect it. But I'm very honored to have it, and I think it's going to be a big deal in this race. I was already leading the race, and actually the momentum and energy was on our side. We were starting to consolidate the Republican vote. So just in terms of the latest numbers, just today.
Yeah, we're in Pendejo land now. We're in Pendejo land.
Before the president's announcement.
We're trying to get out of Pendejo land and get into Marica land.
The nearest one is Eric Swalwell on 18, and
We're trying to get out of Pendejo land. We're right in the middle of Pendejo land. You know what Pendejo land is? Pendejo land.
Kick them out in November because they've done so much damage.
Pendejo land. We're trying to get out of Pendejo land and get into Marica land.
Keep listening to much more ahead right here on the Rita Cosby Show on 77 WABC.
77 WABC's Staten Island law firm of Ed, Julia, Gentili, John time is 1134. For 40 years, the Staten Island law firm of Ed, Julia, Gentili has been helping people just like you. Call 718-816.
Oh yeah. Well, we officially got out of Pendejo land. Pendejo land was small.
Rita
Did you see the ghetto pendejo land? The ghetto pendejo land. Wow, this guy's on a bike and he has no reflective strips or anything. I barely saw him the last second. So what this car dealership is, all these dealerships, this is the end. This is the end of Pendejo land, the end of ghetto land, and now we're going into Marica land. We're going into Marica land.
Remember, gas was really high under Joe Biden, and for no reason. In fact, if you go to
I'll tell you exactly what street. It's this light coming up. See this green light? The second we cross this green light, we're in Marica land. 3, 2, 1. We're in Marica land. We're in Marica land. Look at Marica land. Oh, yeah.
Economically and everything else, I think it will literally last that part of it a few more weeks. We'll have to see, obviously, where this is headed. Let's hope it doesn't go on much longer than that, but we do also have to finish the job of what we started. And a little bit of a hit short term.
We're in Marica land.
So let's pray for that, Joe, and for everybody else, too. And it's a fair point, Joe. Worry about where things are at economically in their households. But also, don't forget, under Joe Biden, there were a lot worse numbers, and for no reason. He didn't do anything to preserve our freedom. He opened the borders, and he let Iran get a pass. So I would say taking Iran out and then things going back to normal and maybe even better than they were under Trump. That would be an amazing thing. And that very well may happen, Joe. And I hope that happens for you and for all Americans because that would be a great thing. Anyway, I want to go back to also some of these comments coming from the Democrats out there, actually calling for the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump. They weren't saying it under Joe Biden, who you could say really wasn't confident as President of the United States. He was so incompetent, remember, that Kamala Harris had to come in and take over. Remember that whole
we already got the vegan gas. We're driving with the vegan gas in my tank. We're driving with the vegan gas in my tank. So now we're going to get grub. We're going to get food to eat. Grub. Food to eat.
What we saw this weekend was not some kind of aberration. It was a continuation.
So he said President Trump should not be the president. And Westmore is considered moderate, I would say, compared to some of the others in the party. I guess there are no moderates in the Democratic Party anymore. And listen to Mark McKinnon. He's a guest on MSNBC. And boy, is he playing to the MSNBC or MS Now audience.
Oh, I just saw a black cat running on the side of the road, the side of the street, side of the road.
So he's essentially equating Trump to a jihadist and saying.
What does that mean when you see a black cat?
Equating him to a religious fanatic. I guess you're supposed to just be nice to terrorists and send them pallets of cash in the middle of the night and just hope things are okay. Because that's what other presidents did.
1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Eduardo in Tampa on line 2. Eduardo, your thoughts tonight?
Yeah, good evening. Well, first up, Robert, the Dow was, 1,300 today over here in Tampa, 401 gas.
But I think you were replying to Joe. I think you were replying with Joe.
Oh,
And by the way, Joe is 71, and is really concerned about, his future, his savings. And it is, when you hear someone say, oh, it's going to last a year, that was one of our callers that was true tonight. It wasn't the president saying that by any means. You're not hearing that from the administration. He's concerned, but it's okay to be concerned, but you should also know that there's probably a very quick end game here with a happy ending that will do very well for his retirement.
Yeah, Rita, some of these people out here, I was hearing some disturbing, pretty ridiculous stuff. They're going to leave the country. I'm going to go to the Netherlands, and, pretty ridiculous stuff. But there's a story here you're just mentioning, that Ukrainian that was killed by that.
Yes, I read it through. And then I found incompetent.
Yeah, and there's another story in Daily Mail that's interesting here. Courtney Wynn is a U.S. Army elite Delta Force unit. She was drafted information to that part. And this is a book about Fort Bragg that came in Daily Mail. So you have this, and then we have the leaker that the president was talking about. So this is ridiculous with the media, the way they're behaving during this conflict.
It is. It's horrible. And I find it really distasteful. And you heard what I said. It's okay to ask tough questions or fair questions. But when I was watching the briefing today, I was just, how many of them, and obviously on some of these talk shows, as I played, were up in the, have we lost the moral high ground by saying, a mean thing to a terrorist? Yeah, I mean, first of all, they're talking about a ceasefire, which we should all hope is that one. And that's what they're obsessed with, is his verbiage about, the whole civilization impact. Had he not been tough, is there any thought in your mind that had he been the previous president's appeasement policy, is there any thought in your mind that there would even be a consideration of a ceasefire or a consideration of, this guy may really mean it? I think the Iranians clearly believe that President Trump might do something really, that sends them back to Kingdom Come, at 8 o'clock last night. And if they thought that he wasn't, and that he was going to be an appeaser-in-chief like some of our past presidents have been, they wouldn't have cared. They wouldn't have picked up the phone and called Pakistan. They wouldn't have done any of that. They would just be sitting back laughing. Like, sadly, they have of other presidents.
1 hour and 13 minutes into the broadcast.
Regardless, it doesn't matter. They're going to criticize because it's deranged.
Yeah, that's a sad place to be. That's a very, very sad place to be. Eduardo, thank you very much. Always good to hear from you. Let's go to
Pretty soon to give President Trump accolades. I don't see how this current Iranian government can stay in power because they're funding things.
But don't you give him
I love how that IHOP says it's open 24 hours, but when you look at the parking lot is empty and the inside is empty. It's completely empty. And it says it's open 24 hours. It's not even midnight yet.
Going in and trying to change the course of history, he's definitely set them back for a long while militarily in a big way. Like if it ended tomorrow, and I don't think it's over tomorrow. I think it's definitely at minimum going to last a few weeks. But if it ends tomorrow, he has definitely set them back for sure many years. Is it to the degree that we want? No, and I don't think it's to the degree President Trump does. And that's why when you have to hear that the administration today, when J.D. Vance was saying that clearly it's a red line that they have to give up their nuclear, materials that are on the verge of a nuclear weapon, that they absolutely have to do that.
We're in Marica land. This is Marica land.
Series of things. So if they can do that,
and then they can be monitored, and hopefully there can be power where the individual Iranian people can rise up and create change. All of that would be incredible. It's not, we're not there yet, and I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. We're not there yet, but I do applaud him for having a significant impact on the Iranian regime, and hopefully he can take it all the way, whether it's a peaceful deal or whether he can pummel them into submission. But I agree with you. I personally think one or the other has to happen.
Well, we can't let them fund Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis and all the other terrorists in the area, because you'll never have peace, and he'll never be able to achieve the goals that he wants to have in the Middle East if he doesn't get rid of them.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why, when we just talked about a little bit before about Karg Island.
Now, haven't you heard that thing about the black cat crossing the road? Or are you seeing a black cat?
All the exportation, which is a big sort of money hub. And then there's this other locations, another island.
I actually owned a black cat, not one, but two different black cats I actually owned.
People can rise up, get the weapons to the people. I agree. I think there needs to be more dramatic change at the top of the regime. I don't like replacing Hitler with a Himmler.
I actually owned two different black cats at two different times.
Maybe these new ones are talking, but I'm not convinced that they should remain in power in any sense. I absolutely agree that you got to get rid of them. But I also agree they have to get rid of the nuclear material. They have to open the Strait of Hormuz. And I believe hopefully all of those things will happen, whether it's in right terms or whether it's in the pummeling terms. But it has to happen. And I still think we're in for a weeks, don't you think?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what magic President Trump can work, because if anyone can do it, he's the only one. I can't see anybody else.
I agree. I agree. And Wendy, that's why I applaud him, because he is trying. There's no doubt. And he's also still trying the peaceful route, which would be a great thing for mankind if suddenly these fanatics have an epiphany. I'm just also, open-eyed that they may not have an epiphany because they are fanatics. But I believe if anybody can do it, it is President Trump. And for that reason, I do give him a lot of credit. And I believe he's going to take it all the way. He's not going to want to, I don't think, back out because he realized the stakes are too high. And he wants to really have lasting impact. He said it. He said he wants to change for generations. I don't think he knew what he was getting into with these guys. And I believe he will take it all the way. And the question is, which way is it going to go to get that result? So we all got to hope for good things. And I applaud him for what he's done so far. And I believe he will take it all the way. Wendy, thank you very much. Great conversation. And you got to call back again. Thanks so much. Let's go to Pete in Staten Island on line 1. Pete, your thoughts tonight, my friend.
Rita, I'm so proud of our president. I mean, strength is, he's shown, and he's considerate about the people, not to go, having innocent people killed. War is dirty, war is evil, but we have to say for these people, it's 47 years, they've been dumping on us, and it's about time. And when a year ago, when we spoke about John Bader,
down to be the complete voice of reason. And in fact, I was watching him earlier, and it's funny, he really was like, we got to take it all the way. He's 100% out for, getting rid of the Iranian regime and applauding President Trump for doing it. And quite frankly, the other Democrats, if they had a spine, they would say the same thing if they cared about this country. What do you think?
I believe, it's so much like I hope I'm not wrong to say it, but I really feel my heart that the movie that John Cassidy was in, that it was great. I enjoyed it very, very much. Actually, my father was friends with the actual person who made it,
What does that have to do with, by the way, you just did a big tangent, but I agree with this. The movie Marty Dupree was awesome. But go ahead.
it was great only because,
That's right, Rob. You know, I've been thinking of the business that I would ever think that would happen.
And by the way, Dean, I agree. It should have gotten best casting. And I thought also Timothy Chalamet, best actor, was great. And best casting, putting John in there, John Catt, and Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary. I mean, I thought they really put it right. Just as you said, the characters were I thought superb. And you're right, it should have gotten. But it was an Oscar nominated. John's first film, an Oscar nominated film. That's a pretty good track record. And it just means the next one will be an Oscar winner. But it's raised. John was talking the other day. I have to remember the amount. It was like close to 200 million, whatever it was. It was an enormous amount. It was 170 or 190 million. I mean, that's an enormous amount. So the public loves it. The world loves the movie, and it is a great movie. I loved it. I thought it was absolutely superb. So, Pete, I agree, and I'm glad that you shined a light. Thanks so much, Pete. Everybody, we're going to continue your calls after the break, but first, support our heroes. And this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with a very powerful story from Wayne County, Pennsylvania, where a Vietnam veteran finally received the medal that he earned so many decades ago. Surrounded by family and friends, he was honored for his service to his country. Vietnam veteran Walter Jim Ruth, just before turning 80 years old, finally received the recognition he earned for his military service. He served from 1967 to 72 in the Vietnam War in the U.S. Air Force. He was stationed in Thailand and Vietnam. And he said we worked in what they called at the time a bomb dump, but now it's called an ammunition supply point. We prepared ammunition to be poured on board of the F-4s. In a surprise ceremony with his family and friends, I love this, he received 5 different honors, including the Air Force Good Conduct Medal, National Defense Service Medal, and the Air and Space Longevity Medal. He also got the Vietnam Service Medal, which he said he is particularly proud of. How beautiful is that? And of course, bravo to all of our great veterans, and especially those from Vietnam and their families. We love you. We appreciate you here on The Rita Cosby Show, and welcome home. And everybody, support America's military and first responder heroes. The best way to do it is to donate $11 a month to the awesome Tunnel to Towers Foundation. They are the best, led by the great Frank Siller in honor of his brother, Stephen Siller. Be sure to check them out at t2t.org. That's T, the number 2, T.
Stadler Farms in Monroe, Michigan.
Are you guys open or are you closed?
Hello, how can I help you?
All right, let me get a triple Whopper, just a sandwich with no cheese.
Okay.
Let me get 2 large French fries
Okay.
and 1 large onion ring,
Okay.
and that'll be all.
22.30.
Thank you.
No,
How you doing?
22.33, please. A ver qué pasa. Hasta que le haga el examen, me vas a ver.
It's 23.
Porque por mí no manda. Ella viene. Y que se le pase el tiempo.
Oh, yeah. Yep, it's the midnight triple Whopper time. You hear that there, middle finger?
You want ketchup?
Yeah, ketchup. And can I get 3 barbecue and 2 honey mustard?
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, look at that. She hooked it up with ketchup Oh, yeah. She hooked it up with ketchup. She gave me the 3 barbecue sauces I wanted. She gave me the 2 sweet and sour sauces I wanted. And I didn't have to pay 75 cents per sauce. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at that. See that?
What the currency is, the type of currency, crypto, cash, foreign money, but it always comes down to the moolah.
It always does, but the ceasefire was certainly great for Wall Street today. The Dow gained 1,325 points to close at 47,909.
All right, well, you can go to sleep, and I'm going to go eat. I'm eating.
500 added 155 points. The NASDAQ also rose 617 points. So the ceasefire is turning out to be great news for that 401k.
For this 24-hour period, if the deal goes haywire again, guess what also goes haywire? That 401k you just cited.
That's the unfortunate part, is it dropped so much when this first broke out, the Iran war, and now, we're gradually climbing our way back. Guess who's back in the courtroom, Dom?
I'm not sure this time. I know the killer out at the beaches, he was in the courtroom today. Who else was in the courtroom?
Well, our favorite rapper, Sean Diddy Combs.
Not my favorite rapper.
Yeah.
And the allegations, what he was convicted of, it makes me go ill.
Exactly, but he'll be back tomorrow in a New York federal court to appeal that conviction. He was sentenced to 50 months in prison back in October, if you remember, on 2 prostitution charges. His lawyers are saying the judge imposed an overly harsh sentence. I don't really think so.
Look at that triple whopper.
Based on, as someone who was a reporter for the Southern District,
see that triple whopper?
I don't think so. Good luck with that.
And this is a great, do you ever
get a load of that triple whopper?
Or Amazon, shop online?
Oh, yeah, and get a load of this. This is the goodie bag.
With our crazy schedules, it's the only way.
These are the onion rings.
Well,
be honest with you, Lisa.
Be prepared, because a TikTok shop glitch.
These are 1 French fry.
With more than 150 unwanted packages.
These are 2 French fries. See that?
Wow.
That's it.
150.
Yes, 150 unwanted packages showing up on his doorstep. Charles Coleman, he said the packages
Oh, yeah.
are
Look at all those sauces I got there. I got the barbecue and I got the sweet and sour.
Diffusers sold by multiple shops. And he says the packages have been arriving since September, which is leading him to put signs up all around his mailbox and on his front door to stop the deliveries.
Right. Good luck with that, because this is not the first time it's happened. It's happened in California, and it was many more packages than that. So I feel bad for the poor soul, but good luck with it.
It's crazy. So from the weather desk tonight, clear and continued cold with a low of 39. But tomorrow we start to get better, mostly sunny, the high 54, and then by Friday the high gets up to 67. The Dominic Carter Show continues. 9:30 on 77 WABC.
WABC New York, WYIR 107.1, WLIR Hampton Bays. 77 WABC, Staten Island law firm of Ann Julie and Gentili. John time is 12:05.
The Staten Island law firm of Ann Julie and Gentili, helping people just like you for 40 years. Flawless content. Call 718-816-0005 or visit NYC.com.
Who's behind the loud explosions in the Yonkers Park?
I am pretty concerned, especially when you see the FBI, but hopefully they get to the bottom of it. You worry about it. The world today is a little strange.
That story and more at 5. 77 WABC News Hour. 18 mornings at
6 a.m. Dominic Carter here with you. 800-848-9222. Your calls already come. Does the media want to talk about? All I can say is sheer nonsense. And all I can say is thank you to Republican consultant Scott Jennings on CNN for holding it down. All the still newsroom.
Why can't you just acknowledge that what Donald Trump said this morning was abhorrent and that no president should ever threaten annihilating a civilization? Why can't you just acknowledge that?
Look, he's talking to him in the way you think.
Why can't you acknowledge that? Because that is something that no
I don't take orders from you, number one, and number two, I gave him the space to negotiate with the Iranians the best way he knows that.
All right, well, let me just ask one final question, Scott, for the record. Do you think it's acceptable for the president to threaten to annihilate a civilization?
I think it's acceptable for the commander-in-chief to deal with these people in the best way that he can.
Is that a yes or a yes?
Result.
Is that a yes or is it a wow? So that's a yes or a no?
I'm not going to second guess it.
Wow.
He put out a statement. We now have a ceasefire.
Okay.
Those are the two things.
I just wanted to.
So many times. How many times do we, American citizens, law-abiding citizens, have to be slapped in the face? How many times do we have to take criminals not only robbing us, hurting us, stabbing us, murdering us, but how many times do we have to take criminals and the criminal justice system, for that matter, literally spitting in our face?
To Carlos Brown Jr., the felon charged with the murder of Irina Zarutska on a North Carolina light rail, has been found incapable to proceed with trial. The decision comes after a mental health evaluation. So Carlos Brown has a string of prior charges dating back more than a decade, including a felony, larceny, and robbery with a dangerous weapon. Brown's lawyers are now asking the court to push back a scheduled April 30th hearing for another 6 months. It's pretty unbelievable. How many times can this man continue to commit crimes and be judged incapable of being accountable for his crimes? It's not just larceny. It's not just robbery.
In the murder case.
Yeah, so here we go again.
And it's an outright disgusting.
Here we go again. This is the triple.
Irina Zarutska.
This triple Whopper. See that? 1, 2, 3. Triple Whopper, tomato, lettuce, onion.
Stabbing of the Charlotte woman, originally
And you got
from outside the country. And
you got the 2 large fries, 1 large onion ring.
that she did on
And we
that
got 5
Charlotte
sauces.
train.
Got one in the back there. We got ketchup. We got barbecue sauce. We got sweet and sour. We got honey mustard.
I spent this evening thinking about this. They get breaks on the front side. They get breaks on
Oh,
the
yeah.
back side.
Now we got the sauces there.
We have a revolving door system. And then when you murder someone, the system still has your back. Again, on the state level, the suspect has been deemed incompetent to stand trial in the murder case of the Charlotte woman. And it's horrible. It's seen on stage in terms of the commuter train that is, stabbing her in the neck. We'll see what the feds find. They're also charging him. So we do have a little bit of a saving grace, because the feds may deem him competent to stand trial for on the federal level. I don't understand, and I really want you folks to explain it to me this morning. How many breaks do the criminals get? Oh, you robbed her. Pat on the hand, don't do it again. Oh, you hit her with the brick in her head, taking her purse. Well, he's not that bad of a person. Let him walk out there. Oh,
you stabbed her, you pushed her in front of the train. Okay, well, this time we gotta let him go, keep him in custody for a little while. You can leave in a year or two and go back to this. At what point does this stop? And it is so bad that if you, Arena Zariska, her name, if you even try to put up a mural of her, that's a problem too, as we found out in Providence, Rhode Island. This is Jay Franklin on the Fox News channel.
Why can't we honor her? Well, I'm not surprised that Democrats don't want to talk about Irina's murder because, frankly, it exposes how deadly and disastrous their soft on crime policies and their whole defund the police agenda has been. And I feel like not enough people have talked about this, but in President Trump's in office, he brought down homicide rates over 21%, and he's bringing down crime nationally across the board, which means, we got to put the police in the National Guard into these cities, and we need to crack down on crime. And people are sick of this revolve-the-door criminal justice system that the Democrats have done, where you pick up the worst people, arrest them, jail, they're out the next day to harm more people. And another story that hasn't gotten enough attention is this precious baby in this city, in New York, who was shot by a stray bullet and murdered by another career criminal. And silent Democrats, because if it doesn't fit their political agenda, they don't care. As a 7-month-old, I've seen her picture. It breaks my heart. And to hear the mayor of the city call out ICE 5 times, do that repeatedly, she should be the focus here in New York City.
So, I don't know, folks. I don't have the answers. Doesn't make much sense to me what goes on in the country these days. I always thought law abiding. It was too much when it was, 3 strikes and you're out? But now it's like 19 strikes and you might be out, maybe, allegedly, possibly. We'll give you another chance. What is it going to take to turn this system around? We see your calls. We're getting to them momentarily. Something I talked about 3 o'clock today, earlier today. Not just this guy deemed incompetent to stand trial, right? And I think we need a more serious test to see if somebody's really mentally ill. Now, I know you folks know I got a thing with alligators, but put them in a room with an alligator, and then we'll see if they're, just for a second, we'll find out then if they're really crazy or if they're faking, if they're acting. Because I would say in 70% of these cases where they're deemed incompetent, these guys are acting. They know exactly what they're doing. And if they're mentally ill, let's say for argument's sake they are mentally ill. So why did it take you, the professionals, all these different tries to wait until somebody gets murdered, stabbed in the neck, to now deem him mentally incompetent? Why didn't you find this out 4 incidents prior and lock him up, warehouse him? I don't care what you do with him, but get him off the street. How about that? Then we deal with the situation in Fort Myers, Florida. I have a good friend that lives in Fort Myers, right? Woman at the gas station, guy with a hammer, he decides to beat her to death with a hammer. With a hammer. This is from one of the television stations in the area.
Tonight, the Department of Homeland Security says the suspect charged with a brutal killing of a Fort Myers mother is now facing deportation.
Documents say Robert Joaquin repeatedly hit Nilufa Yasmin in the head with a hammer several times at a Fort Myers gas station, killing her. Wings News reporter Haley Zarconi read over the update from DHS today. Haley, where did the department come into play here?
Well, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement helped track down and arrest Robert Joaquin last week. They say the suspect is undocumented and from Haiti. The report says the Fort Myers Police Department requested ICE to assist in Joaquin's arrest on Mango Street in Fort Myers. In a statement released today, DHS says after entering the country in August of 2022, a federal judge issued a final order of removal against Joaquin. DHS says Joaquin was granted temporary protection status, which expired in 2024. ICE has now put Joaquin on an immigration hold, and regardless of the outcome of this case, DHS says that he will be deported. We also got our hands on the 30-page dispatch report, which gives us a play-by-play of FMPD's crime scene and response for their search of Joaquin.
After reading over this report, it says Joaquin was known to be homeless. They searched several vacant homes for him during the manhunt, and officers searched miles of Fort Myers for him. Joaquin is in court tomorrow for what's called a pre-trial detention hearing, and that's when a judge will determine if Joaquin will stay in jail with no bond or if any will be granted. Wink News will be there tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Back to you.
So this is the world that we live in. 800-848-9222. Let's go here to Silas, line 3, Staten Island. Good morning. What's on your mind, sir?
Yeah, as far as them judging Mandami and his performance for his first 100 days, they said about 50% of people think he's doing a great job. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't fulfilled one promise, and everything that he's proposing to do is only going to get us in worse. It just shows you how people will, we've got basically a 50% problem. We've got people who take anybody who's in office is great, no matter what they do. But
well, Silas, wait. Let me correct you. Hold on. He has done one thing. He has delivered on universal pre-K for 2-year-olds. We can't take that away from him. That starts in June. But I believe it's going to be a political patronage mill. We'll see what happens. And the problem is he's like a hip-hop mayor. He knows how to go to the hood, smile at the ladies, and act like he's rap dancing, and they just love everything he does. So that reflects the 50% that doesn't know anything that you just said. Go ahead and continue.
That's one of the problems. If, like when you said these people who are constantly being let go and put back out of it, or calling themselves crazy, of course a slick lawyer knows what to say. If we want to see change in this country, we are truly going to have to, in the midterms, turn out every Democrat and put as many Republicans in. The entire world is watching this. They're watching these midterms. And if we don't show the world that we're tired of it, we're just going to keep getting the same thing. I'm talking
let the church say amen. Let the church say amen to Reverend Silas, Staten Island. Pastor, the message this morning was on point. What you just said is 1,000% accurate. If we don't turn out for the midterms and vote for Republicans and get rid of these sorry, Democrats, then shame on us. Don't complain. Then don't do what we always do. You let the other side turn out and vote. They put in who they want to put in that delivers nothing to anybody, and then we're stuck and want to call me and complain for the next 4 years. Silas, thank you for the great telephone call. Time for a break. We are coming right back.
It's Dominic Carter.
Parents, America's big birthday is coming up, and your kids want an invite to the party. Let them join the fun with the Kids Guide to America's 250th birthday, a free guide that helps kids celebrate the epic story of our nation's birth. Send your 50th birthday at freeusabirthdayguide.com. That's freeusabirthdayguide.com.
Tax season is here, and this is the tax break of the day.
Today's topic is disaster relief provision.
This is the tax break of the day.
May include extended filing and payment deadlines, waiver of certain penalties, and the ability to claim losses or other special deductions. Tax preparers closely monitor official disaster declarations and IRS announcements to determine when these relief provisions apply and how they can benefit affected clients. Taxpayers who experience losses due to disasters should keep detailed of damages, expenses, and any insurance reimbursements, as this documentation is often required to claim relief.
This has been your tax break of the day. This is the Worldwide News Network. Extra. History is coming to Las Vegas this fall. Blackpink will become the first K-pop artist to perform a Sin City residency. Eva La Lisa is at the Coliseum at Caesar's Palace, and that'll take place over 2 weekends in November. I'm James Flippin, and this is the Worldwide News Network.
And this is the Dominic Carter Show, 77 WABC. Say whatever you want about CNN, but you have to give Dana Bash credit for calling a spade a spade when it comes to active.
Here's some of what he actually has said about the depravity of the October 7th terror attacks, the deadliest day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust. Quote, "It doesn't matter if ethnic rapes happened on October 7th. Like, that doesn't change the dynamic for me. The Palestinian resistance is not perfect." Now, let that sink in. Hassan Tucker is excusing sexual violence by Hamas terrorists. He also claims Hamas is, quote, 1,000 times better than Israel. Hamas is a designated terror organization, not just by the U.S., but by the EU, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. Just
9/11, dude. I'm saying it. He's also chummy with Mom Donnie. This is the Dominic Carter Show, 77 WABC.
When you enter a place of business, you're owed a legal duty that the place of business is safe for you to shop in. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you suffered an injury at a place of business, our duty is to protect you after that harm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.com.
Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Whipping it out with Anthony Cumia.
Saw what happened up in Canada. Another mass shooting perpetrated by a transgender person. And their biggest concern doesn't seem to be the victims. It's please don't misgender the murderer. We don't like the idea that some people are calling murderer a man when indeed it is a woman. We have reached a real stupid place in history when people look at it and that's their takeaway from a mass shooting. It's a guy, and that's the problem. Too many people are playing along with this, and people are paying with their lives. If you look at it statistically, with the amount of people that consider themselves transgender, they've racked up quite a statistical superiority when it comes to mass shootings.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform. This is the news and talk station of New York with Dominic Carter.
How do we get guns off our streets?
Real New York, 77 WABC. Now, from New York City to the world, it's Dominic Carter.
Folks, you know what America needs? And I'm going back to your telephone calls in 1 second. In these urban settings where, for lack of a better term, you've got to almost always have a person of color running the city. The demographics dictate it, right? So like, for example, New York City, Chicago, Charlotte, right? Places like that. You need a black Giuliani. That's what you need. You need somebody that's going to say, we are a city of law and order, and if you act up, my police act up. It's as simple as that. In New York City, you need the street crimes unit. This pacifying these losers, these nuts, it's not working. I just saw a retweeted video. An African immigrant, a man, half of his head is split open. Blood is gushing. And he's coming down the suburb, backing up. I wouldn't want his blood to get on me either, to be honest with you. But the problem, folks, is that the criminals know that they're running things. They know it. They know it. That's what the problem is. And they know that these Democrats have their back. We have to get back to the days of, so for example, New York City, I'm sure it's like this in many cities where you're listening to me from right now. There used to be a day where, and the criminals knew this, if an officer on that radio put out a 1013, officer in need of assistance, time for talking was over, you're going to the hospital. And that's the way it's supposed to be. 1013, officer in need of assistance. You can tell from the urgency in their voice. Team meant that you was going to get your ASS whipped, handcuffed, taken downtown, and that's what we need, folks, if you want to stop all of this nonsense. It's the bottom line. Let's see here. Let's go to Patrick in Indiana, line 5. Patrick, what's on your mind?
Yes, I have a question on a point. The question is, has New York City got a recall law where the mayor could be recalled for doing nothing? And the point is that
no. And I've got 45 seconds before a break, Patrick. But no, the only person that can recall the mayor is the governor of New York. She's of his party. Not going to happen. What's your second point?
Okay, the federal government should deport those illegal criminals like they're supposed to, and they should sue. They should prosecute the judges for letting them go.
Somebody for that. And it's almost impossible to go after the judges. We've seen the Trump administration, rightfully so, do so when they try to block ICE operations. And that's a great thing. But we got to find an answer. To Patrick's bigger point, we've got to find an answer. I am coming right back.
This is the Worldwide News Network Extra. Arizona's Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs is shutting down an effort to have a highway renamed after conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Lawmakers were looking to rename Kirk's death is tragic and horrifying, but notes that any renaming of the highway must follow the current process. Governor Hobbs did denounce Kirk's death as a horrifying act of violence, but said the process can't circumvent the state legislature, can't go around state lawmakers and their process. Republican State Senate President Warren Peterson accuses Hobbs of breaking with a long-standing Arizona tradition of recognizing impact over politics. I'm James Flippin, and this is the Worldwide News Network.
And this is the Dominic Carter Show, 77 WABC. Boy, do you have to love Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett. The guy is the real deal. I met him at the RNC in Milwaukee a few years back, and he's really a likable person. Case in point, he's calling out the niece and grandniece of a former top Iranian official. They were living here in the U.S., of course, with a lavish lifestyle, and at the same time, praised the tax on America. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said, bye-bye.
In Iran. I'll tell you one thing it did produce, Congressman, recently is the visas have been pulled away from General Qasem Soleimani's niece and grandniece here in the United States, living in Los Angeles. These two women living a very interesting lifestyle. I think we have some images that we can show. Very active, by the way. Luxury brands, and all the while, by the way, posting about the great state in the United States of America and support for Iran. No longer, they have now been put into the process of deportation.
You know, they're dressed like a bunch of hookers, and they wouldn't be able to do that in their own dadgum country, that's for sure. And you have to ask yourself, what the heck was the Biden and the Obama administration doing? Obama sending them ballots of cash. Biden's letting everybody in over our border. We've been told maybe we could have 500 members of the Taliban that have gotten into our country at some time during the last 4 years under the Biden administration. You know, we ought to start. We need a cleaning, and this needs to start right now. This is a perfect example of what we need to be doing, because I guarantee you the money they're spending is probably somehow it's shipped over there to an NGO in one of those countries from American taxpayers of the United Nations, and they come back over here and they trash this great country, and they all need to go back. Let her dress like that in Iran and see how far she'll get hung off of a building is what they'll do.
There's so many fascinating angles to this particular story. One that we talked about in this program a lot, about denaturalizing people that have visas or naturalized citizenship, who are preaching against this country, enemies of this country. Why do they remain in the country? And then I don't think it should go without repeating what you just said. And they can't live like that in Iran. They can't dress like that. They can't spend like that. And yet they do so while cursing America. I mean, this story is layered in so many different ways. More layers than they're wearing.
Yeah, tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more on it. And I think this lady, if you want to call her that, was related to Soleimani, one of the most evil SOBs out there that killed probably hundreds of Americans, was really the father of the roadside bomb. I don't know if you've ever seen the pictures of how they ended up identifying Soleimani, though. He thumbed his nose at Trump, and they ended up identifying by his ring finger because that's all that was left of him.
Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett. This is the Dominic Carter Show, 77 WABC.
The views and opinions expressed by the individual hosts and their guests do not necessarily reflect the policies or positions of WABC Radio, its management, or its sponsors. 77 WABC, Staten Island law firm of N. Julia and Gentili John Time is 1234. For 40 years, the Staten Island law firm of N. Julia and Gentili has been helping people just like you. Call 718-816-0005 or visit aglawnyc.com.
Now, from New York City to the world, it's Dominic Carter.
Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, shutting it down at his news conference. Listen, I'm one of those aggressive reporters that shouts my questions out, and that's how I get my questions answered, or used to, right? I haven't done it in a while, used to. And but there's a time and a place for everything. And the secretary, the War and Defense Secretary, shut it down when a reporter was rude.
Sorry. Excuse me. Why are you so rude? Just wait. I'm calling on people.
Yesterday in the President's Truth Social, he threatened to wipe out civilization. That statement elicited a huge...
I'm going to be honest with you here. So, I'm coming into work, and sometimes, how can I report on the world if I don't live it myself? So sometimes I intentionally take the train, and I'll say to myself, is this the day? This is why I don't know if I believe that crazy stuff. I shouldn't say crazy. That they're not mentally competent to stand trial. They have psychiatric issues. Okay, the crazy stuff. Because generally, have you ever noticed they know who not to mess with? Have you ever noticed that, folks? So when I ride the train, the whole look on my face is I'm cool. You're going to read about it in the paper that day, okay? So I'm at Penn Station, and I see like 6 people standing together. And they're standing talking, and I'm thinking they're waiting for the train. And it was a good thing, it turns out, right? So if you want to feel safe in New York City, go to the subway at 34th Street. That's where the police always are. You see a million of them there, right? And that's a good thing. But the criminals know that as well, right? And so these 6 people, they were dressed almost like tourists with jeans and so on. And then I looked again, and I noticed that they were plainclothes police officers, right? There was a woman, there were a few men, there were, I think, 2 Indian guys, but they were all police officers, right? But here's where I said, you've got to be kidding me. So it's a wonderful thing that they have plainclothes officers that I didn't know they were police officers until you look closely and you see the bulky bulletproof vest that they have under their garments. And so the female officer was standing in front of me. And so I could see one of them had their notepad and their baggy pants. And the female officer was behind me. And so I looked down at her waist because I wasn't sure if she was a police officer. And sure enough, you could see the bulky area where her gun was there. But here's what turned me off. So I was honored, I really was, to see these plainclothes officers. Now, I know that the body cameras are there to protect the officers as well. But why have them in plain clothes if you're going to have one of them wearing a big body camera on his neck? You don't think the criminal looks and goes, oh, law enforcement, he got that body camera. And sure enough, we've got to get back. You know what, folks? There's a movie called Money Train. I don't know if you saw it, Matt Blaze, but Jennifer Lopez, I forgot the other two actors, one black guy, one white guy, and it's all about an undercover unit of the NYPD and the transit police. Undercover. And they were effective, and they were good. Wesley Snipes, and I think, and the guy, what's the guy, Big White Men Can't Jump? Woody Harrelson. Right. So it's the three of them in it, and Woody Harrelson has this crush on Jennifer Lopez. So what does Jennifer Lopez do? And so they grew up in foster care, Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes. And so Woody Harrelson has a crush on Jennifer Lopez. What does Jennifer Lopez do? She sleeps with Mr. Cool, who happens to be his foster brother, Wesley Snipes. And then Woody Harrelson can't take it, blah, blah, blah. But the whole movie, they're tracking this person that's lighting the booths on fire. Give me the money, or, 600,000 complaints of people of color being stopped by the NYPD. Would you rather be dead or stopped by the NYPD? Which one would you prefer? I'm not down for violating anyone's civil liberties. But which one would you prefer? I would prefer that a cop had been on that train in Charlotte when that man who's now, quote unquote, mentally incompetent. I would have preferred an officer had been on that train to blow his brains out. That's what I would have preferred, so that woman would have not been in that cradle position looking up at him like, why did you just stab me? And he literally died in front of us. Matt Blaze, what's the problem? I mean, what's the solution to the problem that we get around the issues that we're facing society-wise?
People just have to be nice to each other and respect each other. And I don't know how we convey that message to everyone to say, look, we all start off, or we all have an opportunity. You all have a choice. When you wake up every single day, everybody has a choice of how they want to start their day. Do you want to start off angry? Do you want to start off sad? Do you want to start off mad? Or do you want to start off having a good day?
In the Matt Blaze, I agree with you. But the former First Lady, Michelle Obama, she seems like she starts off every day mad and angry.
What is she up to?
You tell me, a Secret Service detail, millions of dollars. I don't even know. Every time you see her.
And it just shows that there are some people, whatever the reason, they can't find happiness. They always say, I think people that have money doesn't buy happiness. True health, but it doesn't buy health, but it doesn't buy happiness. When you're talking about the undercover cops with some police, it's right. Walking around and wherever they do something official and have their badge on. But if I didn't have that badge on, I would have had no idea.
And an element of surprise. And I've told the story before, but this goes back maybe 10, 15 years, right before all of this political correctness stuff. I'm walking on 42nd Street in New York City. Some guy imagine something, does something, right? And within a matter of seconds, you see these people conversion out of nowhere. There was this homeboy, looked like a Jamaican reggae brother. All of a sudden, this badge came flying out of his undergarment, and it said NYPD. He picked up pressure. One guy was dressed, I think, as a priest, and so it took like 5 minutes to get this guy to the ground. And this guy, was acting a fool, right? And they did something that I agree with 1,000. Dominic, how could you say this? That's disgusting. Oh, police brutality. He wouldn't stop. One of the officers had the radio, and his arm was out, and he smashed that hard radio up against it. That's called opening up act right. And you want to act right after you got some broken bones in that hand. Hey, stop, man. Right, of course. Right. Of course. So we gotta get back to this. That way, I'm just like, I'm in one of these movies. I can be sometimes. I don't get it. I'm not myself. I'm mentally incompetent. I can't go on a murder trial. I just stabbed a woman in the neck. I don't want to talk about race right now. Please don't get me started. I bypassed every black person on this train, walked up to the one white woman on this train, stabbed her in her neck. She didn't even see me coming, and now months later I'm mentally incompetent. I can't stand trial. You can't make this stuff up. I want you to listen to this. We're talking about the situation in Charlotte. This is Soundbite 15.
To Carlos Brown Jr., the felon charged with the murder of Irina Zarutska on the North Carolina light rail, has been found incapable to proceed with trial. The decision comes after a mental health evaluation. So DeCarlos Brown has a string of prior charges dating back more than a decade, including a felony, larceny, and robbery with a dangerous weapon. Brown's lawyers are now asking the court to push back the scheduled April 30th hearing for another 6 months. It's pretty unbelievable. How many times can this man continue to commit crimes and be judged incapable of being accountable for his crimes? It's not just larceny. It's not just robbery. Now it's cold-blooded murder.
Let's go back to your telephone calls. Line 3, Joe in Trenton, New Jersey. Good morning, Joe. What's on your mind?
Good morning. Tell me, I'd like to hear Linda McMahon. Wait, Joe. If you do that, there'll be protests outside the next day. No justice, no peace. You're trying to tell our kids they're inferior. You don't want them to learn what other kids learn. No justice, no peace. The point that they have, you're bringing up metal shop, wood shop, auto shop. You're bringing up small business. A budget and to put your money. How's that going? That's actually improving the person's performance when they get out there on their own.
Joe, you're making too much sense. If you did something, okay, let me put it this way. Remember there used to be home economic teachers? There used to be teachers that teach girls when they're starting to become about life and the things that function like life as a woman. There used to be classes for boys that basically said you better back it up unless you're ready to start having a family and judges don't play. There used to be all types of classes, art classes. These days, they're cutting sports programs. Those classes don't exist anymore. I don't know, Joe. It's just the whole world. And I really do blame Democrats for this. At a certain point, it requires tough love. It requires tough love. And right now, there's pressure. Okay, well, maybe. And I was thinking about this the other day, and thank you, Joe. Matt Blaze, I was watching the other day, Joe Clark, right? The movie, the Hollywood movie Batman, right? Right, same thing, that's the movie, right? Joe Clark, right? And so he went into this, I don't want to discuss race, I don't want this to be about race, but he went into this all-black school, totally dysfunctional, and he said, absolutely not. The garbage stops now. He demanded fairness, he had to rock the boat, he had to get rid of some teachers, and they called him Batman because he locked the doors and walked around the hallways with a baseball bat, and they ran him out of Dodge after he turned that school. And look at it now, in Trenton, New Jersey. Patterson, thank you. Patterson, New Jersey. Ah, look at that. You know about your lean on me, huh?
Lean on me. My favorite part in that movie, one of my favorite parts, is when they lock him out and he goes, "You can't lock out the fire department." He goes, "You know where they're saying it? In the parking lot."
Right.
He goes, "Boy, I can't lock him out. You know where they're saying it? Parking lot."
Right.
So yeah, I did.
I'm gonna do what I gotta do.
Yeah.
I like the scene though between him and the supervisor, the superintendent.
Oh yeah.
Contrary to public belief, I'm the lead. Not you, Joe Clark. And you're going to apologize. Nipsey Russell, was that his name?
No, that was the guy who played Benson.
Okay, but yeah, I love it either. Contrary to public opinion, I'm the head. Not you, Joe Clark. So, folks, could we have a Batman today?
No.
No justice, no peace. We'll be outside in 5 minutes. Black Lives Matter. They need a new mansion. I don't want to talk about race right now. Please. Listen. How come we didn't do this? I have in the face, no justice, no peace. We could each had a $5 billion mansion now. Paid for, cash.
Black Lives Matter?
Black Lives Matter, baby. Black Lives Matter. No justice, no peace. You know? We're going to have a pimpin' 101. We're going to have the mansions. Time for a break. We're coming.
It's Dominic Carter. The following is a paid commercial announcement.
My baby's heart is beating 18 days from conception.
Hello, I'm Marion Koharski, the director of Pro-Life Across America. We're non-political and totally educational. We don't scream or scold. Instead, we help people working through unplanned pregnancies know their options. And we rely on people like you to help with our mission. Check us out on Facebook, YouTube, or at prolifeacrossamerica.org.
April is Autism Acceptance Month, a time to recognize, understand, and support the millions of individuals living with autism. Autism, or autism spectrum disorder, affects about 1 in 36 children in the United States, influencing how people communicate, learn, and experience the world. But autism is not a limitation. It's a different way of thinking, creating, and connecting.
This is Dominic Carter. This month is about more than awareness. It's about acceptance and action. So how can we help? Start by listening. Amplify autistic voices and learn from their experiences. Practice inclusion, whether in school, workplaces, or communities, by creating spaces where everyone feels valued and supported.
Autism Awareness Month. Let's move beyond awareness. Let's choose understanding, acceptance, and action. Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Miller Report with Suzanne Miller.
Alan, it's the State of the Union, Alan. What do you think? Where do you see Donald Trump was his strongest?
I think he's strongest where he didn't say very much on the State of the Union. He's strongest on Iran, where he has obviously frightened and justifiably Iranians.
Download all the Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.
And this is the Dominic Carter Show, 77 WABC. Returning to one of our top stories this hour, of course you recall the situation in Charlotte, North Carolina, when that woman was stabbed fatally in the neck on the train. And now it looks like the man charged with her murder may get away with it. This from the Fox News channel.
DeCarlos Brown Jr., the felon charged with the murder of Irina Zarutska on a North Carolina light rail, has been found incapable to proceed with trial. The decision comes after a mental health evaluation. So DeCarlos Brown has a string of prior charges dating back more than a decade, including a felony larceny and robbery with a dangerous weapon. Brown's lawyers are now asking the court to push back a scheduled April 30th hearing for another 6 months. It's pretty unbelievable. How many times can this man continue to commit crimes and be judged incapable of being accountable for his crimes? It's not just larceny. It's not just robbery. Now it's cold-blooded murder.
It's really sad, and you just can't make stuff like this up. What is going on in our country? This is the Dominic Carter Show, 77 WABC.
Gold and silver prices are near all-time highs. Get cash in your hands at the Estates Roadshow. Combine gold and silver, old rings, chains, even broken jewelry. Don't wait, cash in while gold and silver are hot. The Estates Roadshow is happening Monday through Friday in West Orange at the Courtyard by Marriott, Kenilworth at the Kenilworth Hotel. Staten Island at the Hilton Garden Inn, or Friday through Tuesday at TMT Cash for Gold in Old Bridge. That's the bright yellow building on Route 9 South. Follow Estates Roadshow on Facebook or visit tmtcashforgold.com. Now, from New York City to the world, it's Dominic Carter.
Big pimpin', right? We only have a few minutes left. I don't want to talk about race for the whole hour. I'm sick of talking about race. But man, Blaze, we could have started a Black Lives Bloomingdale's are still around, right?
Could you imagine us Dominic out there on the street painting the big Black Lives Matter on the street?
Hey, whatever it takes, brother, right? Hey, we could do just like the mayor of New York City. Listen to this. He says that white people in New York City make too much money.
Now, in this report, what we've seen, it's a report that is both coupled with a true cost of living report, is that the inequities in this city, the racial inequities, are stark. We are talking about findings that have shown that the wealth of a median white household in the city is more than $200,000, while that of a black household is less than $20,000. This is not an indictment of any one New Yorker. It is an indictment, however, of policies and politics that have persisted for far too long. Our commitment now is to act upon these findings, to do so in concert with New Yorkers' comments, as we've now opened a public comment period for the next 30 days, to ensure that we have a city where we are reckoning with the long history of racism here.
We need your pop with his baseball bat. That's what we need. Contrary to public opinion around here, I'm the head. Right? That's what he said, right? Didn't we put those kids in check, though?
We did.
Didn't their grades come up?
They did.
Did they stop acting the fool?
They did.
Did the girls stop getting pregnant?
I remember the story when it was happening.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Let's go to Trump hater number one, Jerry, line 4, Manhattan. What's on your mind, Jerry?
Hi, Dominic. Vice President.
Jerry, newsflash. You think Trump made a mistake, right? Am I close? Am I close?
Yeah, but I'm not talking about Iran. I'm talking about Vice President Orban in Hungary. And besides interfering with another country's internal affairs, he's an ally of Russia, Orban, and they're against Ukraine. So the only reason I can think of Trump doing this is support Orban if he wants to set up or help set up right-wing governments wherever. It doesn't matter.
Jerry, you know I have the inside information that the president has. I'm short on time. Thank you for the call. Elizabeth, Squatter, New Jersey. Elizabeth, I owe you an apology, but I only got 15 seconds for you. Please.
Okay, I'll be fast. Okay.
Go ahead.
In Sparta, New Jersey, when you take Votech, you have to have some college courses in case you decide in the fall you want to go to college. You can do that, and I was given that choice years ago.
I understand, Elizabeth. Please call back tomorrow. Folks, I want you to do me a favor and please have a great day. I'm back at 3 p.m. Eastern.
The Other Side of Midnight with Lionel.
This is The Other Side of Midnight, and I'm Lionel. And I'm going to go right now over to the 77 WABC news desk for this story. And this one is beyond riveting. You know, there are cases that never really leave our consciousness, our psyche, or the system. They sit in binders, evidence lockers, and the back of every investigator's mind. The Gilgo Beach murders were one of those cases. Long stretches of coastline, remains discovered in stages, victims connected by vulnerability and geography, and a pattern that was always there, even when the suspect was. Now that pattern has a name, Rex Huerman. Now what makes this case different is not just the number of cases, the years it took, but the discipline behind it. This wasn't random, it was controlled, deliberate, and patient. The timeline stretches across decades with gaps that for years made it difficult to connect the dots with certainty. But investigators kept circling back to the same question. Who could operate like this repeatedly without drawing any attention? And the answers, prosecutors say, was someone who blended in. An architect, a commuter, a man who understood routine and structure, and how to move through a system without triggering alarms. The details emerged in a way that investigators knew all too well. Method, consistency, control. Victims were selected, contact was made, and once the process began, it followed a pattern. Not chaos, not impulse. Victims tell their own story. Remote stretches, limited visibility, areas where time works in favor of concealment. Bodies left where discovery would not be immediate, but eventual. Enough to delay. Not enough to disappear forever, but just to delay. And that balance suggests planning, familiarity, and a cool confidence. For years, the case stalled. Leads came in, were chased and faded. Public attention surged and receded. Families waited. Investigators rotated. But the evidence never stopped accumulating. Technology caught up. Old samples were re-examined. Digital patterns began to matter. Small details, overlooked at the time, became critical later. And this is how cold cases turn. Not with a single breakthrough, but with pressure. Pressure building over time until something finally gives. When there are behavioral patterns all aligning around one individual. Once that line is drawn, the rest becomes a matter of confirmation. And now with the guilty plea, the legal phase shifts. There will be no drawn-out trial, no extended courtroom battle over what happened. Instead, the formal acknowledgement, the record, the conclusion, at least in legal terms. But closure in these cases is never clean. Families hear details they never wanted confirmed. Investigators revisit scenes they never left behind. And the public, which followed the case in fragments over the years, is confronted with the full scope all at once. There is also the question that lingers in every long-term investigation. Could it have been stopped earlier? Could patterns have been recognized sooner? Those questions do not change the outcome, but they remain part of the record. And from a law enforcement perspective, this case is a study in persistence. Evidence doesn't expire, patterns didn't vanish, and time, while it can delay answers, can only sharpen them. The file may have closed. The name is now known. The acts are no longer abstract. The pleas are taken. Life imprisonment forever. No one will ever see the light in plain sight until it wasn't. And what was the most amazing, if you think about it, at least to me, is when you look at this man. He looks ogreish, huge, cold, detached, but he really isn't different than anyone else. And the question is, what made him turn like this? What made him? Serial killers are a de minimis part of the criminal justice spectrum. They're rare. People don't feel this unabiding, this wild, frenetic desire to kill repeatedly Why? What is it? Is there a way where we can think about those traits, maybe keep an eye out, prevent the next one? I doubt it, seriously. And the question is he really as rare as we think? Do the police really let on? I'm sorry to say, my friend, we will never know. But what I do know is the other side of midnight will recommence in 60 seconds.
WABC New York, WRCR Haverhill, 107.1 WLIR Hampton Bay. 77 WABC's Staten Island law firm of Anjulia Gentili John time is 105.
The Staten Island law firm of Anjulia Gentili, helping people just like you for 40 years. Walk with confidence. Call 718-826-0005 or visit ADLawNYC.com.
Long Island award-winning shoe retailer Eric Comfort Shoes is now shipping all over the country with free shipping and returns. EricShoes.com. All sizes and widths. Sizes 4 to 16. Narrow through extra wide. Shoes, sneakers, and sandals. Life is a journey. Wear comfortable shoes.
Because what's up, it's a Saturday night rock and roll party. With me, I'm your cousin Brucey. That's this Saturday, Columbia at 6 o'clock. Right here on Music Radio 77 WABC. You can also hear Cousin Brucey on WABCRadio.com.
This is the other side of midnight. They're running a strange program, y'all, with Lionel.
The other side of midnight. The number is commit this memory. Because what they're really doing is they're giving you a label. They're just giving you a label. They don't tell you what anything means. Just giving you a label. It's like a very quick kind of a review. That's all of it. Yesterday was 2 stories here. I'm going to tell you the second one. The first one I'm going to tell you, which absolutely positively was the most fascinating, and there was so little that is spoken about it. It's not even funny. Rescuer. This is the serial killer. This member is not guilty. And what they do is they give you this. They give you the story, and they're on to the next one. They have to do it in a tight way. To have somebody standing maybe in front of a courthouse and they're pointing, they're pointing to something. They love to point. And they'll show a lot of B-roll and they'll say, that was great, and they'll put that in their ending reel and they'll hope for the best. You know absolutely nothing about it. You know nothing. This is one of the most interesting cases. You can take all the UFO stories and all the Sasquatch and all that stuff, and that's paranormal, this is abnormal. This is as real as it gets. These are real walking, living monsters. Not Yeti, not Sasquatch, not some guy from, Uranus or whatever. No. This guy walking. This is the monster. This is the monster. This is the most incredible story there is, bar none. It is the monster. And this is what people should be absolutely glued on and about and around. And yet, for some reason, I don't know why, it's just move on, next, move, next. Because we're getting kind of an assembly line. Remember that episode of Lucy, where she'd have to work the candies, conveyor belt, and everything. It's horrible. It's horrible. I could spend an hour on that show, on that show. But you will never hear unless somebody decide, man, the special item. And them is special. And all these news people think they're so smart. They really, I gotta say, they really do. They think they are so smart. And they have the opportunity of a lifetime to maybe present to people something which is so critical, so fascinating, and they don't do it. We have a lot of people here. This is my own individual take on this. I don't speak for anybody, I speak for me. This is my own take. I never really got into these folks, never understood it, never was a journalist, they take themselves so serious. Oh my God. And if you really want to see it, look at news organizations. They think they are so cool. In New York, they'll talk, oh, aren't we great? I think it's terrific. Yeah. What do people know? They teach anything? No. And you can't. And they will tell you, well, we really can't. That's okay. Go anyplace else. If you want to find out something, you have to go maybe something online. But this story was the most incredible. This I was just paralyzed by how fascinating this story is. This case sat in the shadows for years. Here in New York, a series of these disappearances of these non-entities, these nobodies, these women, prostitutes, and people like Mamdani and others, they want to make sex work legal. Hey! It's good honest work. It is. You're basically walking out there with a target on you. Now, granted, nobody's forcing you to do that. Well, one could argue maybe there's a pimp and there's maybe an addiction or something. But they're walking out into the dark. They're taking calls from people. And this guy was just, I mean, you are walking into, you are a serial killer's dream. And escort you. And nobody cares about you. You're just nothing. All these women. So yesterday, this guy rescued women, big gargantuan, big bold, big burly. He looks like a monster. He looks like it. Because that's what we love is the monster. The 62-year-old guy pled guilty. He was an architect for massive people park, worked in the city. Isn't that something? Isn't that, it's just, and there were people whose names, if I just type it in, it sounds very legal. Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Valerie Mack, Jessica Taylor, Sandra Castilla, and Karen Vergata. Gone. Expunged. Ablated. Expert. Sex workers, they were targeted, lured, and ultimately killed in a pattern that investigators now describe as controlled and deliberate. And there's all kinds of other stories about maybe other cops or people who might have been themselves corrupt. I'll let others delve into those allegations. But he lived in what appeared to be my favorite. This reminds me of the whole. This reminds me of the Eichmann case, the banality of evil. He lived in this ordinary life. Married, father to worked in Manhattan, no architectural consultant, pretty well known. But behind that exterior, prosecutors are saying was a system. Victims were contacted using burner phones. Meetings were arranged. They were restrained, often with belts, burlapped, strangled. In some cases, families were later contacted using those. Removed it. And the break in the case came years later. This is so fantastic. A discarded pizza crust provided DNA that matched evidence recovered from a victim. And the burner phone records placed key communications near his home and office. Witness descriptions aligned with his physical appearance and vehicle. And digital searches revealed disturbing patterns. He'll never get out. So we can talk about all kinds of things. So we can talk about the death penalty, whether that's appropriate or not. But this is the story that is the most compelling. It's about the monster among us and what happened. What happened? He is a disease. He is a cancer. There were some aspects of that particular investigation which you will not want to hear. Because it'll make you say, wait a minute. That doesn't seem to comport with the narrative, so I'm not going to go there. Because if there's one thing America hates, is getting away from the narrative. But this case, how does this go on without detection? Do you think parents, do you think wives, family know about this? Do you think your wives know about this? So we talk about Christine Noem and her husband, the cross-dressing, whatever that harness is. Isn't it sad? Isn't it sad? There's something, whenever I see somebody, there's trans, and then there's the cross-dresser, and you always look pathetic. Don't they look like, this is the lowest, this is so sad. So, you think she knew? Of course she did. Fine. But do you think a wife knows her husband is a serial killer? I mean, the number is so de minimis to begin with. But do you think they know? How does this go on for 17 years? How many? In the same place. It wasn't very, I mean, it was what ended. I mean, it didn't drive very far. Talk about creature of habit. How many missed opportunities were there in the investigation? And the reason why I'm asking is, you see, the country is asking some serious questions. The country is asking this. The country is asking, in view of what happened to Nancy Guthrie, people are finding out, I thought police knew what they were doing. I thought police kind of knew what they were doing. I thought police were good at what they were doing, right? That's what people think. I thought they were good. How did they not catch or let the Nancy Guthrie case? Well, now we're finding out about this. Could the police have done more? Should we have had more money? How many of these cases are available right now? And what does this say about sex work? Now, I would never, ever ask, first of all, I don't think we're going to get that, but I would love to always talk to a sex worker via this, and explain to me what some of your cohorts you think, without any kind of judgment, anything like that. And I also would want to talk to serial killers themselves. We need to go out like John Douglas did to find out what was the moment in your life when you realized you were a little bit different. What was it? I don't think you're born that way. I don't think you're born a serial killer, but something must have happened. Did you notice something when you were a kid? Was there a moment, a pivotal moment? Were you out on a date? Did something happen where something maybe untoward happened and you realized, wait a minute. Something, this is weird. I'm getting absolutely out of time. I want to find out, why are people doing this? Now, they always give you this line. They give you the line that the three indicators, the three contributors, or the three associated behaviors are bedwetting and uresis, teasing animals, and arson, lighting fires. If that is true, if that is believed to be, I don't think there is any correlation, because there are people who have those and aren't serial killers, so it doesn't work both ways. But what are we doing? What are the behavioral folks telling us about? You know what the answer is? Nothing. Nothing. This is the most fascinating case. Right here. Look at him. This is what a killer looks like. It's just like you and me. Maybe not in stature or height, but he is so normal. How does this happen? These are the monsters. These are the people that, versus Jack the Ripper and others. Listen here. Do you know what it takes for somebody not only to involve themselves up close and personal, to involve themselves in the death? Sometimes somebody enjoys it so much that they want to do it again, and they go through periods where they have a cooling off period, and then they do it again, and they do it again, and they are moved, and they are drawn, and they are pulled, and they are called. This is something that everybody should stop, but we don't. We don't spend enough time. We will talk about, Chrissy Dome's husband, that breast harness thing is where, well, you just sex and titillate, you can run a B-roll, and you can laugh and mock, and you can act like you. But this is the story. This is the story. If you want to see what's really scary, you want to talk about other sides of midnight, the dark days, sick, awful, terrible, dead-end world of disgust, just look around.
Other Side of Midnight with Lionel. This is the Worldwide News Network. A restaurant that says it invented the French dip is closing after over 100 years in business in Los Angeles. Cole's French Dip opened its doors in downtown LA in 1908, and soon after mother claims it created the French dip sandwich when a worker dumped the bread and meat drippings to soften it up for a customer with bad gums. Downtown rival Philippe's, the original, also claims it invented the French dip. In fact, Insider Foods' Joe Avella visited Philippe's for a video.
So the French dip is a very simple sandwich. It's traditionally made with roast beef on a French roll. You can add cheese to it, but it was created here as an accident.
But rivalry aside, Kohl's is closing. It almost happened last year. The publicity bought the restaurant a few more months. I'm James Flippin, and this is the Worldwide News Network.
77 WABC's Staten Island law firm of Ann Julie and Gentili John Time is 122 for 40 years. The Staten Island law firm of Ann Julie and Gentili has been helping people just like you. Call 718-816-0005 or visit aglawnyc.com.
Hello, this is John Katsuakis. Advertising here on WABC is just common sense. Nancy said that WABC is one of the leading AM stations in the country. Tell me what we can help you with. Increase your business at reasonable rates cross-country. Email me at cats@wabcradio.com and I will get back to you and tell you the great deal that you can get on WABC. Email me at cats@wabcradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed by the individual hosts and their guests do not necessarily reflect the policies or positions of WABC Radio, its management, or its sponsors.
It's the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Wow. I just played that. So, and I'm reading into it. I'm thinking, by the way, I had this car right over here. This guy had on a song. I swear to God. Talking about the Huerman case. This is wild. And the reason why it's wild is because it's almost like saying, wake up. Look at this. Don't you find this interesting? You know, this is right there. There's a story that is perpetuated on a repeated basis. That a lot of the podcasts, the number one podcast, the theme, if you will, is they call it true crime. It's always two teenage girls acting like they're trying to scare each other on a sleepover. It's very base. But it's like, you really want to get into the true crime? No. No, really. Do you want to get into it? No. Are you sure? Because I'm with you on that. True crime is the most fascinating thing there is. Because there are more of these people than you will ever be. And right now, there are people that are working with. There are students who are budding in future serial killers that we haven't stopped. We don't know what to look for. Alan Yonkers, get ready for this. Alan, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Yeah, hey Lionel, hope you're doing well.
Thank you, sir.
I just wanted to say with the case with Rex out in the serial killer who just stated today.
That's what we're talking about.
I think his wife must have known he was up to no good. It's a little suspicious. Well, I don't know for sure, but
what makes you think?
Because some serial killers, like he was caught. I mean, she took off. She couldn't get out of town quick enough. She's never given an interview. She's never corresponded or interacted with him again. So maybe that's just that.
What does it have to do with Huerman's wife?
Well, his wife. It's just odd that she's still in communication with him. She showed up to court yesterday.
Why is that? Why is there a one-size-fits-all type of? I mean, it might be. I mean, listen. I think most people would be disgusted, but I'm just curious what it means. By the way, it's interesting that you say that. A family member of some of the victims is suing him and members of his own family. Benjamin Torres, the adult son of victim Valerie Mack, one of the women he admitted to murdering and dismembering, filed a wrongful death lawsuit just a day before his guilty plea. And he sued Huerman, the killer, his ex-wife, Asa Ellerup, and their daughter, Victoria Huerman. They say ex-wife. I don't know if they're still, I don't believe they're still married, but he is suing for wrongful death, assault, battery, false imprisonment, intentional infliction of emotional distress, civil conspiracy, fraud, and unjust enrichment. He said that he suffered lifelong psychological trauma, as you can imagine, from his mother's murder. It accuses Asa, this is the ex-wife of this, and Victoria, the daughter, of possible knowing about or concealing or ignoring facts related to the murder and dismemberment. And it targets, by the way, any money. Now, this is interesting. Any money or profits that she or they received from the Peacock documentary Gilgo Beach Killer, House of Secrets. They reportedly earned a large sum for participating. And this is the first known lawsuit. The family responded with their attorney called the lawsuit reckless, irresponsible, and completely unsupported by the facts. They emphasized that Asa and the Victoria were not involved in any of the crimes, and Victoria was only a child at the time of the murders. They planned to fight the claims. So this is a civil lawsuit. And what's very interesting about this, he pleaded guilty to murder. Now, here's the question. Here's the question I ask. Do you think if somebody writes a book, this is to enjoy the profits, the monies from either a discussion of a crime or to explain a crime that you committed? What do you think?
Yeah, the Son of Sam, Son of Sam, where I live in Yonkers, he actually lived not too far from where I live now.
It's called the Son of Sam Law. So I'm not talking about Son of Sam. I'm saying, what do you think? Do you believe, question is, that somebody should be able to profit, make money from, let's say, either a crime they committed or maybe a crime they were involved with? Is there anything wrong with profiting from a crime?
Yes, I think the person who committed the crime, or if, like, for instance, in this case, his immediate family, his wife, who's possibly profiting, I personally believe that money should go to the victims' families.
I do, you think? You sure about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they need some compensation.
Well, there's a lawsuit. This is the way to do it. This is the way to do it, obviously. This is the way to do it. But the point is, think about this. I want you to listen carefully, because I knew most people immediately say this. So, if a person is accused of a crime and commits the crime and pleads guilty to the crime and is guilty of the crime, and they write a book about their crime, you're saying you should not be able to keep that money. It should go to the, quote, victim's family, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a lawyer.
No, you don't be a lawyer. No, not at all. Now, what I'm saying is, let's think of some of the people who commit, and sometimes people will try to explain this to get money for an appeal, or hire a lawyer, you don't have any money, or they're claiming, I'm innocent, I didn't do anything. I didn't do, okay, that's one thing. But then there are people who write stories about themselves. Martin Luther King, letter from a Birmingham jail. Oh, he was guilty. Henry Hill, O.J. Simpson, different people as well. Yes. But if a person, think about Jesus Christ, Adolf Hitler, Mein Kampf, bad example. But the thing is, doesn't it go against the Constitution, the First Amendment, to say, see, this is one of those things where everybody jumps into it immediately because it makes sense. Why should this son of a gun make any money? Who is it? John Wayne Gacy used to paint the clowns and sell them, and he would try to make money.
Yes,
and he said, you can't do it. Now, that has something to do with his crime. That's just, he's an artist who is making money because of who he is. It's a very, very, very dangerous area that we're in. That's all I'm saying. Now, do you think that that this whole notion of serial killers, do you think they're rare, or do you think there's a bunch out there?
It's hard to say. I mean, you had some famous ones. You had.
What do you feel? What's your gut? Are we becoming more criminally crazy or less?
I think less, because I think even serial killers, many of them are intelligent. Like
crazy.
Hey,
Gary. Wait, you said serial killers are intelligent. Intelligence has nothing to do with it.
No, what I meant is, I think they realize that it's easy to get caught now. I mean, easier than years ago.
Serial killers they have no concern of being caught. None. That's part of the lure. See, that's what people understand. And I thank you for the call. That's what makes them. That's what also the hunt, going out at night. If you forgive me. If there was a country that didn't have a murder statute, pick her out, do whatever you want, it would not have the same effect as the hunter, the predator. The other side of midnight with Lionel.
Lionel, I heard you mention Son of Sam, because I was going to say, these people bringing the lawsuits, all right, they can bring the lawsuit, but the Son of Sam law is already in place. Rex Heuermann aside as to whether he should be able to profit from his First Amendment right, but the Son of Sam law is in place. And you mentioned somebody that I happen to have a personal connection with. You mentioned Henry Hill. A buddy of mine, this was years ago in 1979, didn't know that Henry Hill's phone was being tapped. And he was recruiting, they were recruiting people for a hit on a very famous jewelry store in Manhattan that I'm not going to mention, that my friend was part of. The FBI tipped off the cops in New York, and the deal was as the workers were going to this very, very famous jewelry store in Manhattan, when they were showing up for their shift, they didn't know that the cops were already in plain clothes, and they looked like workers, and they infiltrated the shift of workers. And this buddy of mine winded up doing, and he's lucky he didn't get his head blown off, because when the cops let it be known that they were the police, that he turned around with his weapon. He's lucky that they didn't blow him away. He dropped the gun, and he didn't do like Rex Heuermann. He pled guilty, so that
I think I'm asking the degree. Do you think that Henry Hill, or anybody else for that matter, could have been able to make money if they just merely tell their story? It's their story, they're telling a story, like anybody else. It just so happens that their story happens to be involving a crime that they committed. Why shouldn't they be able to enjoy the profits like anybody else would, even though they're a killer?
Well, yeah, and I believe, I think people should be able to enjoy that. And I think they should be able to enjoy the profits. And on the other hand, any person who has tips on that, who has the case going,
exactly. See, now we're on something. What you want to do is you don't want to let them fight it out of court. You want Henry Hill or whoever it is to make as much money as possible, then you sue them, get a judgment, you'll be able to take their money. That's all. It's just seizing the profits ahead of time is the problem. Listen, how many do you think serial killers are just an anomaly, or what is your instinct with your gut tell?
No, I knew a cold-blooded killer. The guy had no, and I think they're emotionless.
But understand something. There are people, stone cold killers, sometimes involved in organized crime or whatever it is. If left to their own devices, they don't prefer that. They don't go out of their way to do it. It's not an addiction. They will do it as part of their business, so to speak.
Exactly.
But they don't. And they have families, and they're probably the nicest people.
Yeah.
And also, it depends upon how you are raised. If you are raised in these cities, in areas, in a neighborhood, in an environment where these people are almost kind of looked up to by virtue of the fact that you see that nice old man, he's a stone cold killer. If that's what you were raised with, you kind of laud it, you herald it in your own way.
Yeah, in some ways, because that's what. Yeah, no, I mean, look, I was raised in that environment, and around the time when John Gotti was being tried, everybody was saying, oh, John Gotti's the Godfather, and me and a bunch of my friends, there was this old man who used to sit outside of a candy store, a tobacco shop. This is around the same time. And all the Cadillacs and the Lincoln Continentals and all the fancy cars with the guys who's barely getting by on his pension or on Social Security. That guy was the Godfather.
But see, what's interesting is those are the ones that I think are the most interesting, because those are the ones who like to hide the power. They don't have to tell you. Vincent, I thank you so much, my friend. 800-848-9222. Let's go to John on Long Island on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Yes, how are you, Lionel? Good morning.
Good, sir. How are you, sir?
Good. So, I think the other side of the argument here, I think they're doing good work, but that was their life's work. They went through all these trials, and now they're paying the final price. A great price, for their heinous crimes. And so, I mean, why should I? I mean, look, if you write a book about war, you say you're a general, and you write about war, you killed a lot of people, probably way more than these guys killed.
Well, also, you could argue that was okay. Then I think vis-a-vis, put it this way, if you wrote a book in the war with Vietnam, but right now, by the way, there is a New York version of Son of Sam Law in New York. And it applies to convicted criminals who are incarcerated on parole, probation, or were under probation in the last 3 years. Anytime a convicted person receives $10,000 or more from virtually any source, whether it's books, movies, documentaries, interviews, lottery winnings, inheritance, the peer or the convict must notify the New York State Office of Victim Services. And victims or their families then get notified and have up to 3 years to file a civil lawsuit to claim the money. The law is narrower than the original 1977 version, which was struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court in 1991 for being too broad. So the important limitation today is the law does not apply to family members, ex-spouses, or relatives of the criminal. They can still profit from media deals and the like. The question I have is speech. What if somebody says to you, let's say we've got our friend Mr. Blaze here, and he wants to tell his story when he, as a young man, was part of this bogus criminal stereo RICO racketeering enterprise, where he grifted and took and ruined the lives of people, built countless thousands of people out of their hard-earned money, selling these phony baloney plastic speakers.
They were liquid cool. Liquid cool.
His favorite word. And then he says, all right, Blaze, give me your profit. He goes, oh, no. No, I'm doing this for free. What do you mean? Oh, no. I just looked. That's my profit. That's my benefit. I don't get any money. What do I get? Tell me you can't talk about it? Okay, well, in that case, don't talk about it. It's like, this is ridiculous. You should be able to. What if he says, by the way, I want kids to know, don't do what I did? Michael Franzese, Sonny Franzese, he's probably the biggest podcaster of them all in the genre of organized crime. Turned his life around, found God, great speaker, selling wine. He's millions and millions of people. He's interviewed Giuliani and Joe Piston, but he is a convicted felon. And he was a part of this now infamous gas, receipts gas. He was in New York, they didn't pay the tax of gas and funded billions of dollars. Now, why should he be able to tell a story? How does he tell his story without being the convicted felon and son of... So, this happens all the time. Sonny the Bull, Sammy the Bull, was also the first one to have his own podcast. Very, very interesting. Telling the secrets of Omid John Gotti and this one. He was the first person, followed by... Why shouldn't he be able to tell his story? Is he lauding it? Maybe. I don't know. You shouldn't be able to tell somebody that they can't speak. Again, same point. What if somebody was the Berrigan brothers? People who have been arrested over and